Good evening, good day to each and every one. It's your boy GFC Garvan back with another video for you guys. We have a special guest today. Mr. Bobby is here in the building. It's unfortunate that some of the result, didn't go our way today because Manchester United win. So now we know where we're gonna play in Europe for next season. As I said in the title, the Hollywood script I've wrote another session for Chelsea. How you doing today, Mr. Bobby?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Um, I'm not surprised by today's results. I was kind of expecting it. And it's a reminder to us as to why Pochettino could not be forgiven. You don't throw away opportunities to win trophies at a club like Chelsea. We went 6 times to a Wembley final and was beaten back to back. 4 of them by Liverpool. It's totally unacceptable, regardless of the refereeing decisions and so on. The Carabao Cup was an opportunity. We had them on the chopping block, but we didn't take that opportunity. Unforgivable. I mean, for somebody like Ten Haag, who apparently is still going to be sacked, this is just unforgivable. So it explains why Poch needed to go. Conference League, it is what it is. It is Europe. It's better than nothing. We are a team in progression, in the making. So hopefully we can actually be successful with that and build from there.
Yeah, you're right because earlier in the season, about midway the season, when we get those Bradford to kill and your Burnley and your Sheffield United, and the Nottingham Forest earlier out in the season, even the West Ham game. I blamed those games, on my channel for a while on Pochettino, not because he's playing players out of position, but the way we set up the team to show so many respect to the opponent. Especially those midway team. Like I know for a fact that Chelsea was a fair team in the Premier League, and when he set up a team against those teams, it showed me like you telling the opponent like we're scared, so just come and take us apart. And for me, like that's why I couldn't forgive him for that part. But the end of the season, the way he finished the season, for me, I was trying to be fair. I was saying, probably, we could have given him another chance, but off these reports that's coming out, you can see that definitely we could never give him another chance.
Yeah, you're right. I think the end of the season gave us all a desire to give him another chance, mainly because I think in our subconscious we were resigned to the fact that there was nobody else. And so we thought, okay, let's go on with him. The injuries are coming back. He works well with young players, which is his gift. But Chelsea is a winning club. And, yes, there were astonishing levels of injury. That is a mitigating circumstance, absolutely. But when you have opportunities at your doorstep already, as I mentioned, the Carabao Cup final, there's a trophy at the end of it. He blew it. Sheffield United away, ridiculous. We went 2 goals up. It's not acceptable. There are so many things that tactically he got wrong that it really was more about him than about the players he was missing. And you do that at a club like Chelsea, and you pay the price. Now, um, he wasn't particularly sacked. Apparently, it was on mutual consent. We may not know the full details as to what went on. But we are where we are. We're taking this direction. Sorry, because of PSR. and the ownership feeling they need to be in control of the funding and the expenditure. I understand that. The whole of world football is changing, is going towards this model. So it is what it is. Now we have to focus on keeping our players fit, having a successful next season, and winning the trophies in front of us. And if I hate running ahead of myself, but if we manage to win this conference league, at least it helps us and it gives us the full set. So it's not the end of the day. It's not the competition we wanted, but maybe because the team is so young and still in development, it could be an introduction into the bigger competitions. And I think it's not too much of a bad thing. At least we're there.
Welcome, welcome, Blue Board Analyst is here. Welcome to the show. What do you think about where we're going to play in Europe for next season?
Hello, Garvan. Hello, legendary Bobby. Hello to the audience. Thank you for having me. Hi, Bobby. Hope you're doing well. Hope your
Yeah.
health is better now.
Well, yeah, I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. You sound like Jerry Z. Is it Jerry Z or
Yeah,
you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
Bobby.
I was gonna say, well, that's Jerry. I'll know that voice anyway. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to share the platform, and you bring a lot onto the table. Thank you, sir, for sharing, for coming, and on this beautiful evening, beautiful Saturday evening in UK. So, Garvin, I mean, of course, it's not nothing to be, you can say, proud of or celebrate to be in the Conference League, but it is what it is, right? As my father would always teach me, cannot bank on the others. You can do what you can, right? And yes, so I mean, we would have loved to play in Europa League. It would have been better for financial reasons as well, or perhaps to attract some players. In that context, of course, it's not good. But as I just tuned in and I heard the last minute or two of Bobby's take, and I agree. Maybe it's not too bad in the bigger picture because of this young team. Maybe realistic, a very good chance, in fact, to win this tournament, right? If we see in this perspective or limelight. So, Garvin, I know we've been talking behind the scenes, so I would like to ask you about this interesting, title that you put for this live stream. How a team like Chelsea could be transformed into a Hollywood drama. So please, you told me yesterday when you came from the office that you had a lot to share. So I would love to listen to it, and then of course we can add, you can say our perspective or the way we look at things. So sir, please go ahead.
Yes, the reason why I titled it this way, if you notice, from the last stage of the Roman Abramovich era, the last year or 2 years, it was more like they were trying to find each and every way to sanction Chelsea, and this gonna go down in history, to be quite honest, because of those days. First they banned Roman Abramovich to travel to the UK. And once that ban come in where we couldn't travel to the UK, we all know that something was cooking in the background. You know, so then the unfortunate what go on after that with the politics, which we don't want to go into it. Then they take the club away from him. And all of that lead up to we have to force to be in a rush to really get a new owner. you know, a lot of people that really come in for Chelsea, the suitors, but Roman Abramovich and pick the best person who's suited for the club, according to the report, because we're not there, so we don't know what was going on in the back. So after they end pick, the Clear Lake do come in. They come in and they make all these speeches that we all love, and they come in, they start to spend. So we all get excited. It's like watching a movie, when in the beginning of the movie, you like the movie so enjoyable, and then at the end of the movie, the star of the movie died in the movie. So this it bring like a sadness. So right now, none of us know where the movie's going because none of us know the end of the story. It's like a storyline. Like if you watch WWE, it's like a storyline. But where do the story end? Or which way is gonna take another twist or another turn? We don't know as fan. I don't know, you don't know, and Sir Bobby don't know. We don't know where it's gonna turn to. So at this point in time, they said if we don't get to Europe, we won't get the Jordan sponsorship. Right now, we still don't have a sponsor. So, it's like watching a soap opera. What drama is gonna come next? If you understand what I'm saying. So that's why I titled it this way, because right now we're still in a manager search. They probably know the manager that they're going to get. None of us still don't know. We all in the loop here, reading your news every day, trying to keep update to know what's coming next. It's like reading a magazine to see what's next gonna happen in a soap opera. You know, like it's just a roller coaster.
Yes, that's true. And I was listening to Bobby. I was at work, so I came and listened to the Chelsea Perspective podcast yesterday, and I heard Bobby's opinion, and I agree with Bobby in that regard because he understands, of course, football better than most people, and of course, being a Chelsea fan for 4 decades or more. So when he can, as a veteran in this community, in this domain, can understand that, of course, football evolves, right? Things are not necessarily the same, they stagnate, right? Most of the fan base, as I'm referring to Bobby's talk in that podcast, was to do with fans still hoping of the Mourinho days, the Galacticos, the same methodology, the same framework. So I agree in that context that the landscape has shifted and is shifting, rapidly. So I'm all for it. As you know, Garvin, when Poch was sacked slash left with a mutual consent, I was positive. I very upbeat. But at the same time, I'll just say, having said what I said and completely agree with Bobby, but the likes of, let's say, McKenna, I could be wrong. I'm just giving my opinion. At this point, you can say is a little too early for my liking. As much as I embrace change and understand the evolution, so it will be interesting to see. But I'm sure they are doing their homework and their assessment. So, Bobby, could you, for our viewers here at Garvin's channel, if you don't mind, sir, could you also give your perspective on the same subject? That how and why do you see this evolution and this change of managerial structure as something positive and that we are ahead of the curve?
Yeah, guys. Yeah, Gavin, I get your points. I really do. In a way, this situation was forced upon us by politics. Roman was sanctioned the first time, which stopped Chelsea Stadium rebuild, and then the second time, which forced him to sell the club entirely. I won't waste time going into the reasons why. I won't waste time going into my opinion. But this has brought us to this point. Now, the new ownership, if there's one thing I've known in life, and that's the rebuild, is never easy. If you're building something, there's always ups and downs, there are always delays, there are always things that perhaps you could have done better. There are always things you do very well, and there are always things that you learn from. If you're building a house from scratch, at the start of the building, it looks terrible. It's a building site, it's just a mess. But as you build up more and more and more, and the house starts to take shape, you begin to see the beauty evolve before your eyes. In a way, this is where we are. I don't even count their first year. Their first year was very, very traumatic, both for them coming into ownership and for us as fans. The second year, which is this year, whether has gone the way we want it to, we can't deny that there has been progression. Most definitely. I mean, after all, it may not be the European competition we want, but at least we are in European competition. And that will bring sponsors in itself. We're Chelsea Football Club. We're an advertisable commodity. So any sponsor that's on our shirt will catch the eye. In a way, I think by default, we're getting a plethora of blessings in disguise. I think going into the Europa Conference for this young fledgling team is probably a good thing. It'll exercise them in European competition, and it will lead. It's a gentle landing. It's a soft approach into Europe. Having said that, it's still European competition, and we can't take it for granted because we'll be a scalp, and every team wants a scalp. So we've got to be on our A game all the way through this. So I'm glad we're there. And we have to remember that it will be a good training exercise, for want of a better word, without being sounding too disrespectful, for the big one at the end of the season in the summer. We walk into the World Club Cup, hopefully, by the grace of God, in a Champions League position again, and with this Conference League win. That will be a very big confidence booster. And that is one competition that we really do have to try and win. It's bigger now. There will be more threatening teams, but we have to try and win it for sure. So I don't look at it too much as a disaster. I've seen rebuilds before, twice even. Maybe not quite to this scale or for this reason, but the basic principle is the same. A lot of pain, a lot of inconsistency, a lot of trial and error, a lot of time being taken for the young team to integrate, to learn each other. But one thing Chelsea has done throughout its history, regardless of the ownership, has been the rebuild. We've done it often with our youth, as it was called back in the day. At one point, it was called schoolboys, and now it's our famous Cobham Academy. But even going beyond that, because we are going into this new terrain of the multi club system, we are actually importing youth, the best youth in the world, and trying to see if we can get the cream of the crop into Stamford Bridge and either make sales from the others or loans to our sister clubs. That's not a bad thing. This is a whole different way of operating. Football has been evolving since its inception, and new ways of approaching football has been there. When I started watching football, the back pass was a thing. You could back pass to your goalkeeper. Now you get your goalkeeper sent off and probably give away a penalty if you do that. So teams have had to change the way they play to accommodate that minor fact, but yet a major fact. And it changed formations. 4-4-2 was king when you could back pass, then you couldn't. So then we started having different formations, including your 3-5-1 and so forth. So, the evolutions and the permutations with which to apply yourself in this game is evolving. What we're doing is different. I can't say it hasn't been done before because the head coach system did exist before, but definitely world football, certainly European football, is taking that tone. You look at Vincent Company now at Bayern Munich. I think that was sort of announced today. You look at even Arteta at Arsenal. You look at Thiago Motta going to Juventus. Arne Slot, maybe a little bit older, but he's very much a new kid on the block, as it were. We coveted him. Liverpool have now got him. So the whole face of world football looks different. Um, people talking about Kieran McKenna and Chelsea, like you or nobody knows who they're going to go for in the end. I have a sneaky feeling it's probably Roberto De Zerbi, but I have no evidence of that. I have no, prior knowledge of that. Neither does anybody else, which tells us that probably the process is still ongoing. You've got Enzo Maresca. He's still a very big shout. Even Thomas Frank is still in the picture. So we don't know. But one thing I do know is that Kieran McKenna is also wanted by Man United. And he, having served at Man United, I'm sure would be favourable to returning back there, not least to mention the kind of wages they offer anyway. So I don't know. I'm not uh, surprised by what's happening. I know that we're owned by a conglomerate of extremely rich people. These people didn't become billionaires and ply their industry in finance and investment by being fools and by being afraid to take risks. I always use this adage. Brave men go where angels fear to tread. You have to be brave in order to be innovative. Nobody ever achieved anything worthy in life by being afraid of the challenge, being afraid of doing something new, and being afraid of taking a risk. This is what it's all about. And I'm just hoping that with the business acumen, the intelligence, and the nous of these people, their risk is calculated enough for it to have a great chance of success. So, we buckle our seatbelts, sit in our chairs, and go for the ride, watching, hoping, praying. But for me, knowing that, look, the ride was never going to be easy anyway, but I have a sneaky feeling that this time, with this appointment, we're going to be in for a very pleasant surprise. And I'd like to stick with that mentality for the sake of my mental health as well.
Well, you said, Bobby, well said, because for me, I think it will be deserved to, because last season when we're going to get Pochettino, what they did, they put a lot of names out there, where they know the Chelsea fans going to go against, and then they're bringing Mauricio Pochettino because we all going to say that's the best fit, or more experience. So I think what they're doing, they throw some names out there and just waiting for the reaction of the fans. And McKenna, if I get his name correctly, he was a former Tottenham coach too. So therefore,
Yes.
I don't want another manager that associate themselves with Tottenham, to here with us. So I would say I know that they said we go too much for Brighton and we're turning into a Brighton team, but De Zerbi is the best out of the rest, to be honest. And what you said, you're 100% correct. The game is changing. Not only the game, the world itself is
Yeah.
changing. If the way how we grow with a physical and tough mentality. And
Yeah.
these young kids these days are fragile.
Yeah.
They can't deal with a certain situation like what we would have dealt with. They don't know how to use their brain in many different ways. They only think one way and one way only. And everything you said to them, you
Especially the fan
insult them,
base.
yeah, you insult them or you're being mean, so you have to know how you grow your kids these days. And there's the same thing right now with the game is changing, so you have to get a manager who understand these young players. We see Jose name going around. I don't think Jose Mourinho can walk
No.
into any dressing room right now with so many kids. It doesn't have to be Chelsea
No.
because they're not used to this mentality.
Yeah.
So for me, you're 100% correct. The game is
Gav,
changing. The only thing is, last point, Mr. Bobby, and then you go.
yeah.
We have to find the best out of the rest. That's my take on the manager.
Gavin, you're so right. And honestly, this is one time that I have to say, look, these sporting directors, this is where they earn their money because I don't know. But talking of Jose Mourinho, when you hear the interview by John Terry when he was given his Hall of Fame award and he got a call from Jose, and he was saying to this day when he hears his voice, he gets nervous and he's cowered into a corner almost. These are big, strong, mentally and physically men feeling like this. You can imagine what he will do to destroy these children that we've got playing for us now. He is the wrong choice if he's a choice at all, which I think he isn't. And just to add to what you're saying, you see, the reason why we are going down this coach route, and many clubs are doing the same, is you think about it. The days of that Galacticos manager who will come and use the owners as the ATM to buy all kinds of players that they want. Remember Jose's famous words to Roman when he was getting Drogba, Roman, don't speak, buy. He just buy. That's that sort of ordering, and the ownership will throw money at these managers, but the managers only bought players that suited them, and then when they left, they left with a lot of dead wood because the next guy probably didn't want them, and the ownership will have to spend even more money to get what the next guy wants. Well, football can't work like that anymore because of FFP and PSR. The ownerships want to be in control of the player purchases, the project per se, and the direction of the club. So what they are doing is they are setting the stage for whoever comes in. And when you come in, before you even try and come to the club, you have to make up your mind, is this what you want to work with? It's not you coming and telling the club, oh, this is what I want. They say, this is what we've got. Do you want this? And if you don't, go away, then they'll interview those that do. So I see the sense in that because economically it's sound, especially if it works. And finally, just before I shut up and let Jerry speak, you see, we are now, because of this. I've almost lost my trend of thought. Finally, I'll just say this. Look, we are in a situation where the owners, or the owners of clubs and anything, is just like you and me. If you own a business, like I do and still do, I don't want some my employees coming to steer the direction I have for the business. Even if I employ you to a very high position, I want you to toe the business line. And if you can argue over some points going in the direction we're going, you can have an opinion, but you can't dictate to me that owns this business how I'm going to operate. That I won't accept. And if you try it, you're out the door. And I can see why they're having this idea and why the Galacticos model of the past is not working anymore. Clubs aren't going for it anymore because they have regulations that mean they must be in control, better control of their finances.
Can I add something to that? What you said, Mr. Bobby, again, well said and well correct. Because if you do your homework, even with the players' wages, like we used to buy players for 50 million. That was the record breaking when we signed Torres from Liverpool, and then it keep on growing, and then it's getting ridiculous that now you have to sign a player for up to 120-25 million dollars. All of that now is going to change because team not going to want to splash the cash unless they see that it's an Mbappe. And even an Mbappe, if you notice at Real Madrid, he have to run his contract down and he had to
Yeah.
take a massive pay cut
Yeah.
to
Even the
Real.
mighty Real Madrid. Yeah. With all their revenue, they had to do it that way. And you see, they won't buy many more players. Well, they won't need to. Again, unless they, well, offload people like Modric and Cruz off their wage bill, then they'll look to reinforce. So everybody's being very prudent. The market isn't that frivolous anymore because of the financial penalties on clubs.
Anything you want to add to that, Jersey?
No, it's a very great take, and as I said, I agree to that. But again, to my liking, this is a little too early, I'll say. Again, everyone has their own perspective. I think this is the right direction. As Bobby said, this is the direction for the future, for the present and the immediate future. But if you look, as you know, I try to think a lot, but we are the pioneers right now for this. If you see, as far as the recruitment structure, trusting in the youth, investing in the youth, we haven't seen anything like that in the last 25 years. What we've done, I'm not saying wrong, but we did it right. As and we can understand why. But we were the one who took this initial step. So in that regard, it's I mean, it can be a great move, but at the same time, as I have previously said to the audience, or Bobby can perhaps understand better, not necessarily have to agree with me. As I said, the recruitment, or if they are going for a young model or young structure of a certain profile, they could have done it in phases. The transition could have been done in the better way. It was a very quick transition, selling loaning players in two windows, getting the bulk. So it could have helped in the way of maintaining the on pitch performance, right? But again, I don't know. I'm not there. I don't have the numbers. Why did they do so abruptly? Why did they go for this huge change in a very, you can say, a quick, sudden fashion? So anyhow, that is the recruitment of the players. So and then if we add a very young manager, so I don't know. I mean, it's something that perhaps I have not seen regularly. And as I said, I'm a huge component of change, innovation, evolution. But at the same time, I'm a little bit skeptical. I think it's normal, right? A little bit, you
Of
can say,
course.
yeah, yeah. That's great. You understood the perspective. So I don't know. Like, is it necessary right now to go for it? And I'm not saying a Galactico or go back to a Tuchel or a Mourinho. Could have been other options, right? So I don't know. First, we have to see, because ever since Pochettino is gone, we are linked with 10, 12 managers, right? Now
Yeah.
Mourinho is there, Tuchel is there, Zerbi is there, Ruben Amorim, Enzo Maresca, Kieran McKenna, Thomas Frank, and three, four other managers. So maybe by tomorrow evening, we'll have four more. So we should.
Yeah. Or they go and get somebody that we didn't even think of.
Correct. So let's first see what they are doing, right? Like many people are saying, going disrespecting in a way which I don't like. Kieran McKenna, championship manager, calling him. Let's say if he turns out to be our manager, so many fans are looking down on him, and as so we don't know. Like Guardiola, Zidane also came from the B division straight into the team, and we know what we have done, especially Guardiola and also Zidane, three Champions League in a row. So it's not unique. It's not new. So in that list, I'll just summarize, or sorry, conclude in the list that we have at least in front of us. Then I will still, if I made my point clear, would be more comfortable with a De Zerbi or Ruben Amorim, because they are not Galacticos, they are not those managers which we don't want, but yet at the same time they are relatively new with some experience and pedigree. So in that context, I would prefer the likes of Ruben Amorim, De Zerbi over McKenna or Enzo Maresca. So that's my take.
Can I answer one of your questions just quickly, Gavin, about why they had to suddenly come up with this model? If you remember, the first year of the new ownership was chaotic during the Graham Potter era. And that was because most of those players wanted to leave. either they wanted to leave or they were looking for hugely extravagant wage demands like Mason Mount was, and in a way, Kai Havertz, and so on. Now, the ownership wanted to arrest the wage bill. We had some ridiculous situations, not least to mention Lukaku, and the fact that somebody like Malang Sarr, who Pochettino didn't even know who he was, is earning more than Cole Palmer, which is a ridiculous situation. So they had to arrest the wage bill, bring it right down, and have it incrementally moving lockstep with progression and success that brings in income anyway and fits into the regulations, which are getting stringent this summer. And by next summer, it will be tightened, and there will be a sort of wage restriction anyway, wage cap anyway, because of the algorithm they'll take for each club based on the income of the lowest club in the Premier League. So this is part of the reason for the sudden change in direction. It was just like tearing off a plaster. Fortunately, the Saudis came in and we were able to offload a lot of our high earners, a lot of the people that wanted more money, a lot of the people that didn't even want to be at Chelsea anymore anyway. By that, I mean the Aubameyangs of this world, the Hakim Ziyechs of this world, the Kovacic, all of them. They just didn't want to be here. So that meant they said, "Look, we'll rip up this whole thing, rebuild it, and build it to be a plan a team that will last the test of time, at least 8 to 10 years." I personally don't see anything wrong with that. It's something I would do myself if I was in a position. The only thing about it is that it's painful. Rebuilding is painful. It's not easy. It's not a picnic. And we're rebuilding in the midst of a lot of the fan base that are like, spoiled kids. They're not used to this. They're not used to suffering. They're not used to uh, 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 toiling to achieve anything. Why? Because Daddy Roman always bought us the shiny toys, always got us the trophies, always managed to get us out of any sticky situation, and got us the best managers. That was all good and fine at the time. Now we must create a model that, from its own merits, regenerates its own success. That's a hard thing to do, but we're doing it bit by bit. And I'm always somebody that goes on the on the side of encouragement and faith before I completely, condemn something. I have to see it absolutely collapse, like I saw in the Carabao Cup final. I pulled no punches as to what I felt about losing that trophy to this day. But in this case, I think this will work. Why do I say this? Chelsea's greatest managers, is it Ted Drake? Is it Dave Sexton? These people built this club or rather, built winning teams from the youth. The team that won the 55 first then Division One championship was all from the academy. Okay, you could say in those days it happened like that anyway, but they were all children. Then the likes of Jimmy Greaves and so on, they were very young kids, and they went on to the who came before Sexton? Oh God, Tommy Docherty team that was built around the likes of Ted, oh gosh, Blumstead, was it, and Jimmy Greaves and all that lot that became the foundation for a team that had the likes of a young Terry Venables and a young George Graham, and they built up and they won the League Cup, and then for financial reasons, they all had to be disintegrated and sold off. And then Dave Sexton came and built his team from a young Peter Osgood, Ron Harris, David Webb, Charlie Cook, all that lot that went to win the FA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup, and very came very close to winning the league and were runners up in the League Cup. And then some years later, we built teams. The teams built on the late 70s on the likes of Ray Wilkins, Tommy Langley, all that team, and eventually they had to be dismantled because of financial reasons. And then we went on to build teams that brought us back into the first division and moved to challenge for the league before they had to then be dismantled for financial reasons. And then the team that got us to win our second Champions League, okay, there was a lot of maturity in there. There was N'Golo Kante, Rudiger, but it was largely a team of academy youth and a couple of imported youth in the names of Havertz and what's that kid that went to Spurs on loan? Oh gosh, what's his name? Timo Werner. So, these were all young people. So Chelsea is synonymous with building up from the youth. The difference here is that the form book had been completely torn apart and the building started from scratch. The very, very beginning, we had the youngest team in English football and the second youngest team in the five top leagues in Europe. We were only second to, I think, Rennes in France by a few months on our average age of the team. And the only reason that happened was that we were carrying a 39-year-old in the squad in the name of we Thiago Silva, and our 33-year-old goalkeeper, who third choice goalkeeper. But for those two, our average age would have been probably the youngest in top flight world football. So we need patience with this. We need to try and give them understanding because in order to make this work, you must be innovative. You can't follow the old formulas with a new thing. In fact, I'll go as far as to quote a Bible verse and say, look, you don't put new wine in old skins. You've got to put new wine in new skins. And interpreting that would mean you've got to take a new project with new ideas to produce new success.
Yeah, can I add something to that if you don't mind? Remember when Roman is selling the club, right? They said he was going to end pick, as we said earlier, the who come with the best model. And for me, I've been doing a lot of research in this. Roman Abramovich this youth program. Was the first one to really start a youth program like this. But the mistake that Roman did, he didn't get a manager who was gonna use these kids. Your Kevin De Bruyne, your Mo Salah, Andre Christensen, name them. Like we signed like about 20 world class young players, but we just didn't use them in the right way. So we end up lose out on all these young players. When these owners come in, one of the first statement they were saying is Roman Abramovich, made mistakes, with the Mo Salah, your Kevin De Bruyne, and they do not want to make the same mistake. So I'm wondering if they take a model from Roman Abramovich and trying to bring with their model, get the best young players in the world, and they're waiting in the long term to see if this model, these young players will flourish like your Kevin De Bruyne, your Mo Salah. Because remember, it's not long after they leave Chelsea, they end up turning world class player. So in my mind, I think they take a lot from Roman Abramovich book, try to use it and implement in their system, which it's not a bad thing as what Bobby is saying, but it takes time. for a person like me who builds stuff, the hardest thing is to do is to correct something. It's gonna take time, because when you build it, if you make one mistake, it's harder to correct than when you're building it without making a mistake. So now they're trying to rebuild it. I do understand, and I am patient enough to wait, to see what they're doing, because a lot of these players, their potential is really, really high. They can be the next Kevin De Bruyne of this world, or the next Mo Salah. With a little patience, we can see where it's gonna go. And Pep Guardiola gonna leave this league regardless. So what we have to do is build something sustainable. That means when Pep Guardiola leave, we can be the next one dominated for the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we share some of the tweets during the show. So the tweet from the man himself, Sir Bobby. So I read and then I'll take Bobby's opinion to elaborate a little bit more. Bobby says after the final Manchester United FA Cup win, remind us how Pochettino could not be forgiven. So Bobby, if you would like to explain to the audience what you mean over here.
Yeah, I mean, I am all for being patient. I believe I have an understanding of what this project is about, and I'm prepared to wait for it because I've seen what a rebuild looks like before, and I feel I understand the context of what's happening here. However, having said that, we're Chelsea Football Club. We're a club that has a prestige. We're a club that has a pedigree, and pedigrees need to be sustained, and you can't mess up your history. We went to Wembley for 6 different cup finals in a row and lost all of them. That is disgraceful. And okay, some of them you could say that, we were actually robbed. Yes, the Anthony Taylor situation in the League Cup against Liverpool, the first one, and then the whole when we played Arsenal with 9 men, the sending off of Kovacic for nothing by the same Anthony Taylor, all that. But you can't allow your team to lose a final that is 100% in your grasp to win. You have your opponents on the ropes, and you fail to deliver the knockout punch. That is not acceptable for our club. And that's why I've said, and I said earlier, I will support a lot, but absolute incompetence. And what Pochettino showed that day was incompetence. I even understand that, yes, the injuries he's had to deal with all season is a huge mitigating circumstance. That was a reason for why I was one of those that said, okay, he needs to be given at least another half a season. But I look back and I see Eric Ten Haag, who performed worse than Poch at Chelsea, if you ask me. He's finished eighth, and we finished sixth. He had fewer injury problems, although he did have some injury problems. But you see, where it matters most, you wear the name of that club on your shirt, and you get out there and you win. Now he's got out there and he won against Man City, deservedly so. I saw it when they went 2-0 up, and I just knew sometimes you look at a match and you just know how it's going to go. And so I stopped watching. Poch will. Yes, he did some good things. He really did. And any manager coming in will benefit from his good work. So we can't take that away from him. But the stain that will be on him is that cup final. You don't do that at Chelsea. We're not that kind of club. We're not an also rans, we're winners. And we should never lose sight of that. But it's happened. But that's why I put out that tweet, and I could see why. Okay, it's probably right to get somebody else, because Pochettino is the kind of guy that when it really matters, he fluffs his lines.
Garvin, you can continue with this. It's, of course, Mark Goldbridge's tweet, which is who is a Manchester United fan, but it's relevant to what we are saying, so we can understand the context better. With how, as Bobby and you are talking about sustainability and move ahead. Of course, I'm not talking about Pochettino, about the whole picture that we are discussing, that we need continuation and to progress. After winning the cup, he puts out, if they sack Ten Hack for Tuchel, Ineos out, because I was listening to the post-match analysis, and he had a poll around 10,000 or so people, voted, and hit 78% Ten Hag in. So it shows to what Bobby is saying, right? What a win can do, what some sustainability can do. We don't know what will happen, and we don't have to discuss about Manchester United, but to add to the context, right? It's so important. Winning a silverware, winning a cup, as Bobby just alluded, is so significant. And you can see the dimension changing, at least in the fan base of Manchester United, so quickly. So, Garvin, what do you have to say?
If you look on both situation, for me, with Pochettino, it's kind of a little bit different from Ten Hag because with Pochettino, right, he only got a 2 year contract, and would you take the risk of going with his last year with this player with the option of a one more year if the club, you know, um, willing to take it. And if you notice, we're coming up to the FIFA Club World Cup in next, not in this season but the other season. Okay, if you take all of that into consideration, the change we'd have to make right now for Chelsea. You're gonna have to make a decision like, would you get a manager right now that's gonna build something to lead you to that FIFA World Cup that can take you over the line? Which we all know Pochettino will lead you to the final, but he's not brave enough to go over the line. He's like Pep. Pep Guardiola, when he reaches to a final, he tends to overthink and make mistakes. It's just because a lot of teams don't capitalize on it. While Pep Guardiola wins so much, knockout tournaments, because he even told himself today in his interview that he was wrong. His lineup was wrong. He overthink it, he overanalyze it, and he make mistake. And that's, for me, that's Pochettino. With Ten Hag right now in Manchester United, the reason why I said it's kind of different. He got the kingdom in his hand last season, where he signed his own players. So the difference is Ten Hag signed all the players that he want to sign. Now they're bringing a board, right? The board, they say they're gonna sign the players and give it to a coach to coach it, similar like what Chelsea's doing. So for me, it's totally different. It's not every manager or coach talent ID is really good. Much as you will give them a tool, just like with Klopp at Liverpool. When Klopp get the Liverpool to buy the players that he want to buy, Klopp tend to fail and get the right pieces. But when he got that sporting director with him, and the sporting director get the players that he think will fit Klopp's system, it worked, and he win the Champions League, and he end up winning even the Premier League. So for me, why it's different, like, if the sporting director is going to come in and sign the players that they think can fit, you can give thing another chance. But in Chelsea's system, it's really different of what I said earlier with the situation. Would you, if they did trust in Pochettino, they would have given him a long-term contract. So that to show you that they didn't trust the system of Pochettino from day one. So it's a totally, one is going right and one is going left. So Ten Hag can get another chance United, because they're not even in the Club World Cup, so they can buy him the players that they think that can work with his style of play and the system and try from there. But with Chelsea, we cannot try anymore. We have to get it right.
So if you can share the next tweet in the queue, so I can ask Bobby. So Bobby, the show, of course, was, as we have discussed very well, about the structure, the evolution of football. Pochettino, how Ten Hag won the cup. Also, you described the structure and why we went for this abrupt change. So very well done. And now, because of course every podcast and every content creator is now talking on the managers, right? Because we heard that it could be as soon as tomorrow or Monday. But anyways, we all know or believe that by next week we should, if not earlier than that, by next week, middle of the next week or the end of next week, if not early, as I said, we'll find out about the managers. So we can only talk on the ones that are mentioned, that are on top of the list according to the credible journalists. So Bobby, if you would like to have your 2 cents, your take. Say you are in the board, and with the research or the knowledge that you have, and knowing our profile, the squad, what's your take on sporting directors Ruben Amorim, who is perhaps a fan favorite at this moment?
Yeah, Ruben Amorim is probably the one I know the least about. And why I say this is he's been very successful in the Portuguese league, which is something that puts people off, but for me, it's not necessarily a showstopper. I am very, very much hoping that in order to make the new manager or head coach's job easier, the club quite rightly are now trying to lay the foundation for this person to come in that they're going to be able to give longer contracts and perhaps more wages because they're not going to allow an entourage to follow them, such that if they have to fire this person, they have to fire the entire entourage and the whole cost goes up. This person is going to come in and work with the Chelsea structure. And I'm hoping that within that structure that the ownership will have the sense to put Chelsea coaches there. By that I mean you have someone like John Terry or Jody Morris or Steve Holland, these people of Chelsea ilk, Chelsea background, Chelsea knowledge, even played for the club, managed the youth teams and have managed in the Premier League, and in the case of Steve Holland, even managed the national team as an assistant. If you have them there assisting anybody, I think that person is going to be quite successful, especially if it's somebody coming from outside the country like Amarin. They'll be very helpful, very useful to him to help him plan for what is going to face in the Premier League. You know, a cold, damp, wet, rainy day in Birmingham playing Aston Villa, or up in the northeast playing Newcastle. You need to understand, or against Nottingham Forest, you need to understand the physical element of the game that's going to be thrown at you, the the balls in the air in your box and so on. And a foreign coach would be helped greatly by people that have that insight on his side. So Ruben Amorim is a favorite for many people. I don't know. I think across board, those names that are there all have their merits and demerits. I mean, I don't like to say it, but um, Roberto De Zerbi, at least, is very experienced in the Premier League. He's worked with Modric and Caicedo. He's worked with developing young players. He's tactically, fairly astute. People say he had a bad season this season, but he lost his entire midfield and several other players on in the field that he relied on heavily, and it was a huge readjustment for him, which I think threw him. Even Kieran McKenna. Yes, people say he's too young, and I'm inclined to agree with that. But he does have Premier League experience under Mourinho. He does have experience with youth football, albeit with Spurs. And he did bring Ipswich up from twice, showing that is quite a winner. And of course, Enzo Maresca, somebody that I kind of I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, maybe is he the ticket? Worked with Guardiola, knows Cole Palmer, Romeo Lavia very well. Has brought Ipswich, Leicester back to the Premier League at the first time of asking, plays possession based football. Um, it's a hard choice. And of course, Thomas Frank, very experienced in the Premier League with a somewhat modest side in Brentford, very tactically astute. He can mix it up. He can play the possession, he can play it long, he can play the set piece. He's worked with the new set piece coach already. So it's going to be a hard choice. And this is why I say I have not got a clue. And honestly, I'm intrigued to see what the sporting directors, the people that are paid to make this decision, will do, and their reasons for doing it. I'm very very intrigued because it's not an easy call.
So, Garvan, what's your take on Ruben Amorim? So, in short, for me, if this is the list, he's my favorite, my pick. If the five, six, seven names that are mentioned all over, and I do believe, of course, without going in detail, that he is already a very great coach. Yes, we can always say that he has not worked in the Premier League, but that is just an argument, right? So all the great coaches who came, they always have to start in the Premier League at some time, right? And given that it's a young squad, and he primarily plays a 3-4-2, 1-3-4-3, very well organized, great structure, and of course, if the games that I have followed, I can see that he is not just a great coach, but he a great manager, can change, adapt, and is very strong character. So this is my very short take on Ruben Amorim. So what do you have to say?
For me, it will be one of my favorite with the Zerbi, and the reason why from the rest. Um, I watched their game last season against not this season but the season before against Arsenal, and the way how we outmaster Mikel Arteta, in both legs, not just one but both legs. So to beat a man like Pep Guardiola, you need something different, like what Jose Mourinho did. Your own style. Everyone is going down the Pep style. But for me, I always keep on saying you can't beat a master at his own game. So you have to come with something fresh, something different. And I think that if we really want to, bring something different to the Premier League, next season, we have to have something fresh. Just that Crystal Palace coach, no one had found him out yet. So you see that run that Crystal Palace went on. So for me, you need something fresh to beat these manager. Your Pep Guardiola, your Mikel Arteta, something new. You just want something new, something revolution or something different. And I think that's what he brings. The Zerbi, I would give the Zerbi a little bit of credibility as what Sir Bobby said earlier about his best team keep on taking away from him. So we don't know if he did have his midfield this year. He probably went on to the top four, or probably pushed towards a Champions League spot. None of us would know because he didn't have Levi Colwell, he didn't have Caicedo and McAllister, and whosoever else they take from his team. So he loses about 4 to 5 players every season. So giving him all these players, it would be a different scenario to me. So one or the other is my team. Big up, coach.
Gavin, can I just clarify that Levi Colwell was never really his player anyway? He was always a Chelsea player, he was there on loan, and he only started using him towards the second half of the season he had him. So apart from him, I would accept the others, but Levi was never his to start with.
So yeah, we should give the mention. I was thinking, very busy in the chat, so apologize to the audience. Chelsea perspective, the final boss. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support as always, and for we have been reading all your messages, very delicious messages. AB, rich money makers, and Garvin. Maybe any other, if I miss, you can give a shout out.
Oh, and Andy, I think Andy was here too.
So yeah, so we're going one by one. That's what we can do, right? To talk and give our perspective, right? So of course we don't know who's coming, but the list that is thrown to us. So Fabrizio Roman says earlier in the day, in the morning, I believe, Enzo Maresca, guys, and I can confirm that he is super open and super keen on joining Chelsea. So it's a concrete possibility. So Bobby, if you would like to talk on Enzo Maresca, the sorry, I'm saying Manchester City, the Leicester City coach who worked under Pep Guardiola, and that is something that a lot of analyst fans are very excited about in a way, looking that he learned from the best and his style of play resonates with him. Do you see it as a positive, and how do you see his style of play fitting our young squad?
Yeah, I think what's helping Enzo and people having faith in him is the Arteta story. Arteta worked under Guardiola, and when he left and went back to Arsenal, where he had played as a player, the rest is history. The beginning wasn't that easy with him. He had to make some very tough decisions with the playing staff, and he had to evolve, and it took him a number of years. But one thing he did right, and this is where I revert back to why Poch really, what he did was just a mess, really, by not winning that trophy, was that along the way, Ateta, even when they were finishing eighth and so on, he was winning a trophy here and there. This is what the great teams do. You don't give up opportunities to win silverware. So Enzo Maresca, his stock is helped by that, and of course the way he brought Leicester City back to the Premier League. What's going to make it very possible to get him is that Leicester's in a weird situation. Looks like they're going to have a points deduction. There's not that much great stability in their board in terms of relationship with the manager. So he could look to go. Tactically, from what I've heard, he's very Guardiola-like. But is that a good thing? Largely, you need to be a bit of yourself as well, because Guardiola, he has his flaws. It's just that the quality of players he has in depth and in his first 11 is such that he's able to do these things and often get away with it. But apart from that, Enzo works with young players. He's very much in the running. Will he be the final pick? It's a huge call, but he's very much in the running. He's tactically astute, and if his job is just head coach, as we are hoping to do, um, he could well be very successful. He's thirsty, which is a good thing. We want a coach that's thirsty for success, really desires it, and it'll come out on the pitch. So I don't know. In terms of what's in front of us, he's no less and probably no more than the picks we have to pick from.
So Garvin, before I ask you to talk on him, so final boss Coachella says posted a very interesting message and a you can say a great message for Bobby. And I agree. Bobby should be recognized for effectively articulating why clubs are hiring coaches instead of managers. Absolutely. Bobby, very well done as always. So, Garvin, anything on Enzo Maresca? Personally, honestly, like I have not followed him a lot to really give a view apart from some clips and some games, the game we played against Leicester. So I'm not currently in a position to come here and speak tactically or give a strong opinion on Enzo Maresca. So Garvin, what's your take on him?
I don't really know much about him. I was following him when we got our midfielder over there, Cassidy, and I saw the way how he have Cassidy was playing, and we were getting a lot of he was getting a lot of goals out of midfield, and I think it would help like of Enzo and Caicedo, midfield pivot, the way how he have Cassidy was playing, and they play really good. And the thing that I like about him, he dominated the league the early part of the season, where they were leading like about with 17 points. But what got me is in the end, after Cassidy left in the second half of the season, I saw that points kind of resolve back to square one. So I was a little bit concerned about that part, because Leicester could have wrapped up the league like from about January, February. So my biggest concern would be, I don't know if Bobby noticed it, or you, but that would be my biggest concern. If he can be consistent for a whole entire season, you know, um, I will say give him one more year to see how he would be, or how he will be doing in the Premier League if he can bring something different or fresh. The same thing with McKenna. For me, I would love if they come up, because Vincent Company come up and try to do the same thing, being stubborn. What he was doing in the Championship, he tried to do the same thing in the Premier League, and we all know how that went. So I don't know if these managers are going to be able to be flexible enough, in my point of view. So that would be my biggest concern about these two managers that are coming from the Championship, honestly.
So could you please add the next tweet so I can ask Bobby? So what Maresca wouldn't be a bad hire according to Coachella. So this is my tweet when Poch got sacked. I wrote this after a few hours, and I'll give my quick take, and then I'll ask Bobby. So I just said in a very positive, ambitious way, optimistic fashion to encourage the fans. If actually he is the one, I said exciting times ahead for Chelsea fans. Roberto De Zerbi's tactical genius and passion for the game could bring a fresh, dynamic approach to Stamford Bridge. Expect thrilling football, clever strategies, and a renewed push for trophies. I know it's a little bit bored to be very overboard to be very honest. So my take on Roberto De Zerbi, if you remember, in the not last week, but prior to that, I was not really up or in favor of him coming. Like many fans, I would say I was not alone, and because at that time when we were speculating if Pochettino would go, of course everyone has their own picks, but more or less people were thinking about Tuchel's flick. For me, of course, people can always disagree, but a lot of our fan base were thinking about, like as Bobby put, Galacticos, right? Elite managers, Tuchel, go back for Mourinho, or just search for a proven a champion, an elite manager who win trophies. Even they were contemplating for, say, Antonio Conte, of that sort. So because the fan base was still here with these 4 or 5 managers, of course we can always have our own preferences. So no one was thinking that the club would actually, if Pochettino goes, would take this route and go for the young managers that we are discussing. And of course, he is a very young manager, right? Although he has an experience of 8 years or so when he started from Italy. Ruben Amorim is 39, he's 44. And of course, the other two managers, of course, are the managers who had the experience of championship. So now, on Roberto De Zerbi, why? Because now this is the list, right? So of course, I'm a man of perspective, of context. So had a conversation with one of my friend who is not a part of our community, and he said to me, "Look, you need to think, you need to factor in something, right?" So I was listening to him, and he helped me open up my, you can say, mind towards Roberto Di Serbi. He said, "Look, he first of all, we know that last season he did really well. Most of us accept that, right? It was a great season with Brighton when he finished sixth, their best finish in Premier League history, the way he played. So we all know that. The reservation started or came when we ever he was linked with us this season because they had a very mediocre average season, to be honest. But then we have to factor a few things that McAllister, right, Caicedo, Coville, and other key players, they were not a part of his team, which were I know Coville was never a Brighton player, but he was there for the entire season. So I'm saying in that context. So he missed on all those players, right? And lastly, if you see the most important point that can go in his favor is, of course, he plays the style of profile. I mean, his style of play, profiling, formation, high intensity, possession based, all tick the boxes if that's what the owners, sporting directors want. Additionally, he has worked with, and it's a significant factor. If you are in any recruitment firm, he has worked with, got the best out of Caicedo, right? Coville was amazing under him. Modric, right? And so he ticks so many boxes. Of course, the skeptics or people have this reservation because he's so open, plays such an attacking brand of football. What about this defense? But then again, the managers we are looking, the others one apart from Ruben Amorim, sorry, all plays largely a very attacking and open play. So in the way that I tried to explain in this holistic with this holistic framework, and given that he has 2 years experience, as Bobby said, I think in fact he's a very good fit right now for this Chelsea football club, for this Chelsea football team. So Bobby, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. You know, De Zerbi does tick a lot of boxes in view of what the current ownership is looking for. Do I have reservations? Yes, I do, based on what he did this season. But his knowledge of the Premier League cannot be taken for granted because one thing, you know, I'm not saying that a good coach, you know, a good coach is a good coach. They would be able to adapt and come and you know, the cream always rises to the top. But what makes the Premier League particularly a tough league is that, yeah, you may come in new, all singing, all dancing in August, but by October, all the teams have worked you out. And unless you're able to reinvent yourself mid-season, during the season, even mid-game, you're going to come unstuck. And this is the ruthlessness of the Premier League. They study the opposition, their players, everything about you. And of course, if you're Chelsea, you know, a lot of your tactics is given to the opposition by the media anyway. And so you've got to really know what you're doing to be able to run this ship, especially this young ship. So, De Zerbi, to that context, it won't be new to him. Why I do have reservations about him is that if he does take the job, the first thing he has to do is address that comment about not caring about winning and only wanting to enjoy the game. I mean, that's you don't do that. That's what shook me with him because I know what Chelsea is. Part of managing Chelsea and succeeding at Chelsea is coming in with that swag, that confidence to be able to deal with a squad, even if they're very young. These are some of the best young talents in the world. They don't need a double minded, lily livered leader like Graham Potter. They need somebody who's going to not only be a father figure, but stand up with confidence and take them to battle to win. I remember very much from Obi Mikel's podcast. He said, when he was at Chelsea, he was a kid. He was surrounded by men, strong winners, leaders. And he remembered that there was one of these big games that they had, that he would look up the line in the tunnel leading onto the pitch, and you look at people like John Terry, Michael Ballack, Didier Drogba. You're seeing these guys relishing the occasion. Why won't you be pumped up? You're looking around you and you see nothing but bravery. Bravery breeds bravery. So that regard, I really want, if he does get the job, that he irons that out and gets that out of our minds, because the Chelsea fan base, when you do have a wobble, as will come and does come in a season for hopefully a very, very short time, they will be on your case. And that's when you start to get the split. But if he goes in with the confidence and he shows that he's a winner, the fan base will always be on his side. So I don't know, is my answer. And as it was before, it remains now. I don't know who they will pick. I do have a sneaky suspicion it might be him because of his repertoire, but that's not necessarily, um, a certainty. But yeah, I mean, he does tick a lot of boxes for them, for sure.
More than
Legendary
Jarvis.
Garvan, your take on, and please go ahead if you were saying something on the Zerbi, because as you said previously during this podcast, that Ruben Amorim and De Zerbi are your two picks. So anything you would like to add? Of course, Bobby has already defined it in a very compelling manner, but please go ahead if you want to add something.
Oh yeah, I was saying thank you, Maureen, for joining us. Maureen just joined us. But what you said about deserving, the only
Oh,
con
oh, sorry, I didn't see that. So sometimes last time I didn't see Bobby, so he's on the show. I'll apologize. Actually, I came in that show and I had to host in the middle, so I just missed the cue. Bobby, I apologize for that. You know me, I won't do that. So yeah,
Yeah.
please go ahead and then we can talk to the new
um,
panelists.
my concern with Deserby, it will be one of my favorites, as I said, because of what we know he can do. But that statement that he made, as I saw it somewhere earlier in one of the comments, where he were saying that, like winning is not a big priority for him. Is this just the style? And Chelsea should be thinking about a winning mentality manager. If it was deserving, to be quite honest, going the final up against Liverpool, deserving would be brave enough to go for it, because that's how he is. He's a manager that always wants his team to go for it, win, lose, or draw. He is like a sergeant leading a body. He go for it. So he, with a good team, I know that he can do well. As what Bobby was referring to, that I think he is the man that's going to get the job, to be quite honest. I think they already made their decision. I think they're just trying to rattle up the crowd a little bit to really see, because if we all listen in the media where they're saying that someone already paid his release clause, some $4 million, I think, and it have to be a secret. They can't reveal it. So I think that it's already picked. Don't be surprised on Monday, because tomorrow Amarin got a final. After they have to play a final tomorrow. So I think they're gonna wait until probably Monday. You probably wake up Monday morning bright and early, and here we go. Because remember earlier I was telling you in the week when we did that emergency broadcast, where I was telling you that if we're going to do something, we need to do it before the players go to the Euros, so they can at least, go to the Euros with a clearer mind to know who they're going to come with, especially if they're going to go deep into the Euros. They need to know who, so at least can make a contact or something to know what their future holds. So when they come to preseason, they're not thinking about what I'm gonna do. They need something that they need to settle with from now. So when they come from the Euros, they know what they're walking to. So from me, that's my thing. I just think he's the man, honestly.
Yeah, I also have this feeling. So yeah, please go ahead. You can ask Meyer anything you would like.
No, go ahead, go ahead. You're hosting real good. Go ahead, go for it.
Okay, so you can add the next tweet and we can talk on that, which is not what we represent, I believe, any of us, but it's something because we are discussing Chelsea and the current affairs, and there's a large section of the crowd who is promoting this. So Chelsea fans, it's just one of the tweets, but it's there, thousands. We had, according to them, which who represent a large section, as I said, of the Chelsea fans. We have had 2 seasons of turmoil under Clear Lake. Sales of our elite players, our assets. We have lost Emma Hayes, and when Poch finally grew a backbone, we lost him too. And now they want substandard managers like McKenna. Protest now before it's too late. So Maya, what's your opinion? I'm sure Bobby must be scratching his head looking at this or hearing about this message. So, and I think we disagree and we find it funny, and we think they have not done their homework. They don't understand the structure and the landscape of football. But Maya, do you have something to say on that? Because there are so many fans. So, are you a part of this message or a part of this protest?
Um, can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Thank you for having me, guys. I'm not part of this. No, let's hope they're not going to burn the pitch because where we're gonna play? Like, come on, sis. So, I don't want them to um, go beyond and like destroy the whole stadium and all that stuff. You know. So, yeah, this is unacceptable. You know. Rather like protest in a good manner. You know, if they go there, just protest in a good manner. But they mustn't choose violence. That's gonna, yeah, I just disagree with this. Totally disagree.
I know, Bobby, it's not even worth to talk on this, but if you would like to say something, or maybe if someone is listening who is in the middle, what's your message for them?
Yeah, I mean, I can hazard a guess who posted that. I can't really see it because I'm using my phone. But that aside, this is it to me. With all due respect, it seems rather immature. It's quite a knee-jerk sort of response. I think this particular person has been out for the Chelsea ownership right from the inception. He doesn't like them, doesn't, well, even before the ownership, he was always complaining about anything Chelsea. Look, we have to be objective. You can't just go protesting left, right, and center. And even that action destabilizes these youngsters. You do that, and what frame of mind do you want to put them in? They need to see support. Chelsea supporters need to now support the club. You may not understand or truly believe everything about the project, but honestly, in 2 years, there's been undeniably improvement. He's talking about Emma Hayes. Well, honestly, those people that try to equate women's football to men's football, I just think they are very delusional and usually political. And Emma Hayes has been at Chelsea for a long time. there's always going to come a time where people move on. She's gone to the United States job. She's been a manager for many years at Chelsea. Prior to that, she was at Arsenal. And she's sort of done her time and wants something else after being a successful and very good servant at her level at the club. So I don't really see where that equates. They're saying, oh, this person is leaving, that person is leaving. Well, there is a turnaround that is expected in football anyway. And this refurbishment, this rebuild, this whole regeneration of the squad was necessary. When you have people that want to leave, you don't hang on to them. You see the disaster it causes. When you have a wage bill you need to arrest and bring down under control. This is probably the only way to do it. So no, I can't accept that comment. I think it's rather misinformed.
So, Garvan, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, for me, protest is never good in no way at all in life. And with this young team that we're building, which we touched on earlier about, mental stages of young players these days. You got the Jada Sanchez, have to take a mental break. You got that Richarlison, so that to show you that these players these days are fragile. So for me, I don't think that will help the club. I think that the Chelsea fan base, should be a leader in many aspects because Chelsea is one of the teams that revolutionized the whole entire Premier League from way back from Bobby days, as Bobby said. Like Chelsea always be a trendsetter. Chelsea always lead by example. Chelsea always set the pace and everyone follow. One way or another, they're probably not gonna come out and say the truth on it. But when Roman Abramovich come in, he changed the whole entire. Even before Roman, remember I always talking about this. When you got the Franco Zola and the World Cup winners, when Chelsea started bringing all these great players over, Chelsea bring a lot of attraction to the Premier League. So a lot of teams are looking on Chelsea, what Chelsea is doing next, so we can at least follow probably a couple of years after. Honestly, in my opinion right now, that what I think, if we get this right, every team in the Premier League going to start to follow. But the good thing that we're doing now, we're getting the next best superstars that's coming through. So after your Kevin De Bruyne and them go aside, we're gonna have the next big thing, and that's good for us. But as Bobby always say, that patient is the key. Watching all these different big YouTube outlets and social media and fans banter. I understand that the banter is there, but it's up to you if you're gonna resolve all of it and take it in. Sometimes you have to listen with a clear mind and know that have faith. I'm gonna have faith in my team. But when you start to follow the narrative of other fan base, it's gonna lead you to this where you're gonna think about rioting or you're gonna think about protesting. Sometimes we just have to sit back and listen to noise, but you don't even listen. Like you're hearing the noise, but you're not really listening to it. I don't know which way to put this term. One of you probably can correct me, but sometimes we have to learn those little details. Be in the room like a famous man, Nelson Mandela. Like his son gave a speech one day when they were saying, you know, why when your dad go on to give a speech, why he always outclassed the rest? And he said his dad teach him one thing, he always sit there and listen, let everyone go before him. So when everyone say what they're saying, he take everything that they take and put it together. So when he deliver a piece of everyone thing and make it perfect. Sometimes that's what we have to do in real life. We have to know what we're listening to. on what we're going to take in and what we push out. So for me, like, it's a no. I would always support my team until my last breath. Like, I will never go down that route. I will always try to think how we can find a solution, how what we can put out there to help, get the team back where it is. Probably, start to do some positive stuff. Like, they probably say they're not listening or they don't want to be on social media. But, someone or somewhere the message will reach them. Show them that we're behind them. That will help their confidence. That don't lead to nothing at all. That only let you regress. So for me, support is the key for these young players. They don't need no negativity right now. Even this season, a lot of booing in the stadium, booing this player, booing that player. Like, those little stuff don't work. If you want a player to play better, put positivity out there. Give them a clear mind. So when they're on the pitch, they only think about one thing, is just the game. Only, nothing else but the game. That's all I have to say on that one.
No, very well put. Very well put, and I think we all agree to that. But unfortunately, the masses don't usually do that. And I always give this analogy, not that I'm trying to say I know more or I'm I'm privileged or have more knowledge, but at least I try to think. So the what I always say, that the herd mentality is hurting not just the Chelsea fans, but any affairs of the world where we are suffering to move on. Or I don't have to go and discuss the political landscape or any other thing, but you can understand what I'm saying. The herd mentality, just taking a narrative, not doing your research and just going by that is the reason for a lot of issues in this world. So because you joined late, so of course we went through 4 or 5 managers and just gave our view. So do you like to say anything on, let's say we don't have to go and talk about on these managers, we have done that. Who is your pick and why? Let's make it simple. Who is your pick for the job, for the Chelsea hot seat, and why?
I prefer Ruben because with him we can get certain results and attacking style of football play. Um, and I'm sure with him we might maybe qualify top 4. But that's my unrealistic opinion though. But either I know that this Zerbi is gonna come inside, and I'm sure he's probably gonna be one of the top options. But I would pick Robin because he has his style of play, like it's attacking, and I just like his style of play. And I'm sure with him, he knows which type of players he can get. Although now we have heard that the only one coaches, they don't want managers anymore. So now the person that's coming in is not gonna buy his players. So the football club's gonna buy the manager, the players. So yeah, I think I'm just going for Ruben, but that I know that Tisob is gonna get the job. But I prefer Ruben because Ruben, his style of play is very good and it's versatile as well. Like he buys players that can play in certain positions as well. So like he's actually good at that. So I'm never studied De Zerbi that much. I only knew him last year with Brighton, so I never really studied him. So I have to actually go deeply and like see his analysis and all that stuff about him. Then I can say, all right, okay, who's better. By far, I think De Zerbi probably is going to get the job. So by my pick is Ruben. So
Yeah, Ruben Amorim is perhaps, of course, I don't have the exact data or numbers, but what I see is the fan favorite. If I understand the trend correctly, a lot of Chelsea fans really rate him high. But as you said, this is interesting as Bobby has analyzed, and we perhaps know and we have this understanding. But as you said, he needs the players he wants. and this is where I'm not saying about you or any specific person, but the fan base get it wrong when the sporting directors, no matter what we think about them, they're professionals. More, you can say, they're better equipped than us. As much as we analyze, spend 10 hours a day, they are there for a reason, right? And they look into that. They have the technology, the numbers, which we don't, right? And they have all the tools in the world to analyze, assess the situation. So maybe, like, we don't know these details, right? Bobby can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they want to go for Ruben M, but when they have it, I'm just saying hypothetically, a discussion. We don't know if they had already or any other manager. What the manager is demanding, saying they have to see, will they, can the manager integrate? This is important. This is why it didn't work with Pochettino. So in the next appointment, in my understanding and opinion, there'll be more, you can say, focused. They want to be like, they want to ensure that it goes correctly, at least as far as the understanding, integration, or making sure that it's sustainable. So a man like Ruben Amorim, which we know from the outside, would need a certain players or his players, right? And now the model will be, you have these players, you have to work with these players. So maybe that is why, if they don't go for him, it could be this reason. And the fans can say, oh, they don't want to go for a manager like Ruben Amorim. So just on the defense of our the sporting manager, I mean, there are so many, this is just one example. There are so many variables, right? We don't know. Maybe they want to go for Ruben Amorim. Maybe they don't want to even go for Tuchel. I'm just saying, of course, Tuchel won't make sense because of his history. What I'm trying to say, that the manager should fit the bill, the profile. And if the managers are not demanding, it's not just the word demanding, they could be, but in a way that aligns with the vision, with the framework, is what I how I can explain it best. And Bobby can correct me if it makes sense. And then you can ask Bobby about Michael Oli. So Bobby, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. One thing I will add to it is that the new manager, whether it's Ruben Amorim, whether it's De Zerbi, whether it's Maresca, um, they will still have say in players that are coming in. We will still buy players. And if it's Amarin, this striker situation, he has the opportunity to influence the purchase of Gyökeres, which I think is already his player, over anybody else. There's the whole Sesko element, not to mention Osimhen, despite the huge cost of Osimhen, and of course the outside chance of Ivan Tony. So they will have input in the players coming in. That's their whole purpose. I mean, Pochettino had input in players. He even had input in players not being sold. So we have to, it is very much a wait and see, but they're not completely out of the picture. But their primary focus will be on training the team and integrating the youngsters.
So Garvan, would you like to read and ask the panelist now on this important transfer, this potential transfer?
For me, let me adjust the Elise transfer. He's a Cuban boy, so I think, to be quite honest, it would be a good signing if we do get him. I think that Noni Madueke a few more years to develop. So if we want a now player, I think that's one of the players that we should look to go for. And not only that he's a good player, he's a team player too. Like, if you notice his connection, when he's playing, I was his link up play and all of that. So we need a little more like that in the team, and this will help the likes of Cole Palmer, more, and we can at least say that we got another Madueke where it can come in and out, because we're all gonna blame Pochettino, go back to him. when Noni Madueke have a form where he's coming off the bench and he was scoring a lot of goal, I think he gave him the rein too early, because he was so hungry when he's coming off the bench. Like a few more games coming off the bench would help develop him a little bit more better, in my point of view, which I can be wrong, but with the transfer market, I think that we need another goalkeeper, a better goalkeeper that can claim crosses, not only using the ball or a shot stopper, and I think that's where we fail a part of last season, where we concede a lot of set plays, not only because we didn't have a set piece coach. It's about our goalkeepers not comfortable of claiming crosses and playing defense. That helped the defense a lot when your goalkeeper can come and claim crosses. Other from that, like, I don't see where we're gonna spend so much money to go for Victor Osimhen. In my transfer request, I don't know, what Marine and Bobby think about that, but I don't think that we should break the back to go for Victor Osimhen. To be quite honest, that's just my take on the transfer.
So, Maya, would you like to give your 2 cents on Michael Olise? According to Mirror, they say the price is 60 million, around 60 million, and that Chelsea will go for him irrespective of who the new manager is. And Bobby, you can perhaps follow up on that. And I'll be back in 5 minutes, Garvin. If you just give me 5 minutes, I'll be back.
Sure.
Please, Maya, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Does anyone have his injury record? Is he injury prone though? Because what I've seen from him, like his recent games, he's an excellent player. Well, playing on the right, if you put him on the right side, right, I'm sure he's gonna give Madueke competition. But due to like our injury history, because like even last season we had like so many injuries, so um, I'm just also concerned. I want to also check his injury like history and concern about him and his injury, if he's injury prone. But yeah, he's an excellent player. Um, should we go for him for 60 mil? I'm sure it's not 60 mil. I'm sure they probably buy him like um 40 with add-ons or something. But yeah, because I'm sure Chelsea will move smart with this. And yeah, we'll see how we do about it. And the thing with Osimhen, I don't think we need to buy Osimhen, guys, because uh, if you're going to have to release his clause as well, it's gonna be a big risk to also pay for FFP as well. So Osimhen is a big risk. But if it happens that we need to buy a striker, then they have to lend it for him, and we have to find a way to pay all that money back. So with Osimhen, we have to buy with installments. That's the only way to get that guy. Because if you don't get installments with him, bro, so FFP is gonna get us. But yeah, Ulisse is gonna be a great signing. I prefer Ulisse. Um, yeah, if there's anyone that's linked on the right side for Madueke, like what you said, Garvan, with development. He came from PSV, so he needs a lot of development. Like I think he needs a loan spell or something, or maybe just a little bit of time to like maybe notice the game, or maybe adapt to the English game as well. So yeah, that also happened to Hudson-Odoi, but Hudson-Odoi had injuries, so yeah. But Hudson-Odoi right now is actually balling at Nottingham Forest, so I don't know why we let go of Hudson-Odoi. So, but that's another story for another day. So, yeah, but I prefer Lisa. So, yeah.
Yeah, Olise, I think, would be a great acquisition. Chelsea boy, his brother's still at Chelsea. And the thing with his injuries, which is a concern, But coming to Chelsea, he'll have the opportunity to rotate, which will give him more longevity in a season and probably the rest breaks he needs to go through a season without injuries. So for me, it will be a fantastic buy if we get him. He's just one of those that, yeah, it'll be thrilling to get him. And if we don't, it'll be, well, okay. It's like, it's like we have enough, and having him is just the icing on the cake.
Um, you guys 100% correct. With the goalkeeper situation that I talked about earlier, I want to know your guys' take on it. I don't know if it's just me, was thinking about the weakness of our goalkeeper, and it's a big because if you look on Tottenham, right, everyone know to crowd the Tottenham goalkeeper when they're putting in a crossing because he's very, very fragile. Go ahead, Buster Bobby.
Yeah. First of all, Georgi Petrovic, he's a very young goalkeeper. And as goalkeepers go, he's actually a fetus. He came on when he had his chance. He did very, very well. But, clearly, as a young player, you will have that dip in form, which he went through, and then he picked up form again. He has improved and he will continue to improve. Whether he's a number one or number two, it depends on who else, if anyone else, comes in. Um, I wouldn't be upset with a set piece coach and with Petrovic. But I see the point where people say, okay, we do need a better goalkeeper. Yeah, but who? That's the problem. I hear Oblak might be available from Atletico, but Oblak isn't quite that goalkeeper he was, and his wage demands will be absolutely ridiculous. So unless we go for somebody like the Villa goalkeeper, who now that they're in the Champions League, I doubt will be going anywhere. The goalkeeping market is a very delicate one at the moment. And we've gone so far with Petrovic, and he's improving exponentially, that it wouldn't be the end of the world to stick with him. But I do get the point of perhaps looking for somebody better to have him as a number two in the team.
Before you go, Marin, let me add something to this because this topic brings us back to what we were saying earlier. If it's gonna be De Zerbi, De Zerbi like with his goalkeeper to play with the ball. So how that gonna go for Petrovic, a very good young goalkeeper that we signed. As I said, the only problem he got is to claim the crosses. So that leads us back to if we get De Zerbi, we definitely have to get a goalkeeper that can comfortable of using the ball. That's why we were linked with this from Brazil, Bento or Beto, I think. Brazil third string goalkeeper is really good. He don't deserve to be a third string, but because of who is in front of him, Brazil got the two of the best goalkeeper in the world. One is at Liverpool and one is at Manchester City. And it's just unfortunate for him. So what do you think about it, Bobby? Before I go to Marin,
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly feel that Petrovic was that bad at coming for crosses, and he certainly improved towards the later end of the season, as would any developing goalkeeper. He's developing just like the rest of the team. But yes, if this Brazil third choice is a choice, I mean, and Petrovic is not too bad with his feet either, certainly a lot better than Robert Sanchez. So if the Brazil goalkeeper is, as is said about him, and he's able to be got, then it wouldn't be a bad shout, bearing in mind that Bertinelli, as our third keeper, is somebody who should really move on. He's never come anywhere near the pitch. He's probably very good in the dressing room, but if we've got somebody who's quite capable of being a number one and Petrovic there pushing him, it can only bode well for the team.
Maureen, what you have on that one? You did, Maureen?
We can say that. Can you hear me now? Sorry, I
Yes, I'm
think the
hearing you now.
network where I'm at, the network. Yeah, the network is bad. Sorry, guys. Um, I think Petrovic had a good season, uh, because we can see he actually developed like with um saving shots and all that stuff. He's actually a goal stopper, so he developed well in that. But like with other attributes, he still has to develop with that. So yes, we do need a keeper, an experienced keeper for him, so he can learn. But runabout, your Petrovic has been an outstanding goalkeeper for us. He was better than Sanchez, I won't lie, this season. He's actually, and how much was he this season, yo? Because that's a bargain for Petrovic, yo. Nah. I'm not sure how much was he. I think it was probably 11 or 12 million. I'm not sure. But yo, that's a bargain for a goalkeeper that's really good like that. So yeah, I think we should get someone for him. If Martinez comes in, like what Sir Bobby said, I doubt that's gonna happen because he has Champions League. So in the market, we really need to dig deeper and see which goalkeeper we're going to go for. I was thinking Diego Costa from Sporting, but I don't think that's going to happen as well. So, but yeah, but we just have to wait and see. But yeah, if we go for Martinez, then we have to get a good deal on that.
Sporting,
No.
isn't that where Amarin is?
Oh yes, yes, sir.
So
That's
you
where.
never
Yeah,
know.
he's.
I think
Because
he's
I
at
actually
Porto.
watched his stats, yo. He's actually a good goalkeeper. Because I watched his stats, he's a good runabout goalkeeper. So, but his release clause is also very high. So, I'm also doubting that we can get that guy because his release clause is very demanding.
Yes, guys. As I saw this comment, and guys, we don't even touch on the players that's coming back to the club because we still got Kappa on the wage bill. Bobby probably know a little bit more on that more than me. Bobby, what do you think about that too? Because remember, Kappa is coming back and
Not
Celine.
selling Kepa Esperlaga. Sorry.
Yeah, Kepa has got to go, hasn't he? I don't know what's going to happen about that. There was once an opportunity for him to go to Bayern, but I think his performance at Real Madrid hasn't helped his stock. And Kepa's problem is a physical one, which is not something that can be rectified. So he's a very good goalkeeper, but he's just not, his wingspan is his downfall. Hence, he's not able to come out for crosses and that sort of thing. So, Kepa really does need to go. How that will happen, I don't know. Other players, obviously Lukaku, Ziyech, Malang Sarr, these are the last of the somewhat dregs of the old set that we need to offload. And every single one of them is on huge wages compared to what the players are earning now. So certainly Kepa, my goodness me, that was a bad buy. But yeah, let's wait and see. That's what the summer's for. I'm sure they're working on it now as we speak, if they haven't worked on it already.
As you said, Mr. Bobby, about Kappa is a bad buy. I don't know if you remember. Before we go for Kappa, we get the chance to sign Allison at Liverpool, and we delay until when we go in for him, he was willing to come to us, and
Yeah.
then we delay, and then Liverpool go in for him, and then he decide when we go back in for him, he decide that he's already going to he's gonna go to Liverpool. Imagine like if we did go in and take him before we signed Kappa, everyone was blaming Thibaut Courtois for that because he said he was gonna stay. But once a player decided he want to go, doesn't for me, in my point of view, we shouldn't even allow him to try to come back and renegotiate. We should have just let him go and get Addison, you know, and we go pay so much money for Kappa. So I don't know if you have anything to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of Marina Granovskaya's blunders, of which there were several. I don't understand that. It was us shooting ourselves in the foot. And Allison going to Liverpool is an old story. I don't even think it was a choice of him whether to come to Chelsea or not. I just think Chelsea didn't make their move and Liverpool did. So he went to who made their move. He wasn't really declining or Chelsea at all. It's just you can't go to who hasn't come for you. So that was an error, but we have to move on. But definitely offloading Kepa must be one of the transfer challenges and transfer priorities for the sporting directors this summer.
Anything you want to add to that, Marin?
If if we can go in free, I don't mind, bro. Cause hey, the guy has to leave, and maybe get a better goalkeeper as well. Um, yeah, even the guy ZH, I also heard ZH is going as well. He's going to Galatasaray. So, um, yeah, some of the guys that need to leave. I don't know about Lukaku. So, yo, I don't know about uh, Lukaku's situation, but I also want him to leave. But yeah, if the new manager comes in and he wants him to stay, then yeah, I don't know. That's going to be another havoc. But yeah, most of the players that are coming back, nah, we need to sell them. We really need to sell them.
I want to ask Sir Bobby something. Really, I want to ask him something for the last couple of days. But it just come back to me, Sir Bobby. To see the work that Frank Lampard did, right? Let me try to see if I can make it a little bit shorter. Frank
Yeah.
Lampard do make when he come in at Chelsea, right? He was trying to get Declan Rice, Erling Allen, and it was two more players that go on right now to be doing good in the world. About four good players, and
Mm.
I think this midfielder was at is at Real Madrid now, Chouameni, and he was trying to get the Jude Bellingham.
Mm.
Would you consider Frank Lampard for the sporting director job? If he would ever take it. It's just a if because we know Frank Lampard want to be a manager.
Mm.
But I'm just trying to see, pick your brain on it a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Frank is missing his calling. He's not a good manager, but I believe he would be a good sporting director because he has an eye for a good player. He really does. If he takes away, sometimes he does have a bias, but generally, Frank knows what he's doing. And having him, especially as a Chelsea person, yeah, as one of the sporting directors, it would be a good move. The only concern I have with Frank is that he may not be agreeable. I don't know how much he would fit into the structure. The structure is a teamwork system. We all have to work together as a team. There are no sort of lone rangers. There are no standout stars, and the agreement for players has to be unanimous. And unless it is players that you have been selected to select, so I don't know how he'll feel about working in that framework. And the fact that he hasn't become a sporting director is probably testament to the fact that he probably doesn't feel he would be able to comply with that sort of setup. But yeah, if he ever did, I think he'd be very good at it for sure.
You have anything you want to add to that, Marin? Because we're going to talk a little bit about Cesc Fabregas. I'm coming back to you, Mr. Bobby.
Yeah, sure. Now, Fabregas is another one of those that I would like to see in the assistant coaching setup with the new coach, with the new head coach. Cesc Fabregas, by the nature of how he played, is very tactical. He's very technical. He understands the game well, and this is why he wants to go into management himself. But as a stepping stone, being one of the assistant coaches to whoever, I think would be a very good move. And I think he'll do well because he knows the league, he knows Chelsea, he knows the culture, and he has enough football knowledge himself. I don't know how he gets on with younger players. I wouldn't imagine that he wouldn't get on with them. I just think it wouldn't be a bad move.
What you said, because the reason why I asked this before this put up, he was at Coben like 2 weeks ago, and I think in the final week, before the final game, and he was at Coben, was touring, big up Dante, so that's why I really asked because I'm wondering again if he is the mystery man. Or how
Oh,
is that?
I would be extremely surprised if they did that. Um, I think I wouldn't look at that as a wise move at all. He's has he ever even coached at all? Not to mention take on one of the world powers in football, regardless of whether it's full of youngsters.
No,
I don't.
sorry to interrupt. I mean, he has not coached, but he in Serie B, he is working as an assistant right now.
He
Yeah,
got promoted.
I can see him as an assistant, but to come and be the head coach at Chelsea Football Club, I think it's way off at the moment. I wouldn't really back that, and I would be more than surprised if they did that. It doesn't. It really doesn't even fit their criteria. They need somebody who plays in a certain way, who works with youngsters. I mean, he hasn't even got any mileage behind him at all to be for anybody to know what he can do.
So, Garvan, what do you think? I mean, it's an interesting take because, of course, we know him as a player, but we know that the players not necessarily make the best coaches. But of course, he's working as an assistant, doing very well. And I know it's again, uh, as Bobby, no, Bobby came as a surprise that even if anyone is contemplating, but again, it comes down to your feeling, right? When you don't have a large sample size, the way he talked, the way he explained the tactics. I mean, anyone can, of course, but I see a great footballing brain. And then when we are, I know, I mean, when we are okay with, let's say, McKenna, I know McKenna was a head coach and got back-to-back promotions. So why not Fabregas? Because we need someone who can resonate with us, who understand us. But then I'll agree to Bobby. If we do, right? If we do, then as an assistant, as a part of the coaching team, not as a head coach. I think it will be a lot too early. So, Garvin, what's your take on that? And how do you rate his work in what's the team I always forgot? Como 1907, if that's what it's called.
I listened to an interview a long time ago.
Because
And
a lot of professionals and people are very fascinated with his, of course, very short tenure. So, did you follow or did you look into some of these games?
yes, I was impressed with him as a player, and he got a mind of a coach. And listen to a few interviews, the way how we talk, and then when he left Chelsea, I follow him in Monaco, and the way how your young players was talking about him, even like your Balia Shield, and the way how he used to lead in the dressing room and help them, to bring the whatever the manager put out, like help them, to sink it in. For me, he can end up being our Xavi Alonso. He can be a surprise, one of the surprise. Is this a risk? Yes, it's a risk. But if we consider in the life of a McKenna and the other guy, like why don't consider Cesc Fabregas too? So if we're gonna say we're gonna give them a chance, like fair by fair, for me, like we never can tell because we don't know what these two managers gonna give. So I wouldn't put them in the category and say they're better than Cesc Fabregas at this point in time. Cesc Fabregas can come in and give us what we're looking for. So this job for the sporting director is going to be really, really taken and really, really hard for them to decide who, who is next. Because I think Pochettino already know that he was going to leave. They were going to fire him regardless. They already know about 7 games before the end of the season. So I think they already know who they want next and who they're gonna go into. They're just doing it like it's a remainder of the season. They come to this conclusion. I think this conclusion was already made a long time before it catch to the end of the season. I think Pochettino was just whatever he brings to the table right now. He was just doing it to try to build a CV for himself to look towards another job. But I think he already knew he was going to go about 7 games in before the season.
Yeah, I mean that's where opinions come in, and as you said rightly, that if you're going for McKenna, then why not him? But I have to see like McKenna to answer that. McKenna at least worked in the Premier League as an assistant for a while, and of course, like he was a or is a sorry head coach or Ipswich Town for 2 seasons. So yeah, as Lord Dante, by the way, big up to Lord Dante. Thank you for tuning in. Always like to see you and your messages, your opinion. You're most welcome, sir. I mean, to be honest, I didn't see his. Is it Como, right? Como in CD second division, Serie B, right? Govan?
I
Is
think they get promotion too. If I'm not, yeah, I think
is
they
he
get
is
promotion.
he an assistant or is he a head coach over there? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he's the head coach, and I think they get promotion. I'm gonna have to
Wow.
double check, but I think they did get promotion.
So I understand. So basically, in a way, it's like he did the same what um, uh, McKenna did, but it's that he did that in Italy with the second division, and McKenna did it in England, right? So I can understand that. I can understand. So I'll ask Bobby, put Bobby in a maybe difficult position. But by the way, that's not at all my you can say aim or my idea. But Bobby, if you are I mean, just for us and also the audience to understand, because of course your description is absolutely, ace. You analyze very well. So if you are a certain section of the fan base, understand that going for McKenna is fine. It's a new landscape. It's the evolution. So why not Fabregas? Or why do you think it's a little too early to go for Fabregas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly convinced about McKenna either, but Fabregas, I'm very clear that as an assistant, yes, but as a head coach, it's a bridge too far. And why I say that is it's a challenge for somebody coming to manage in the Premier League from Serie A, not to mention from Serie B. Um, I don't see it at all. Now, to my knowledge, he was an assistant with, is it Como? But if he got promotion to become the head coach there, fine. But he needs something on his CV. At the moment, that's all he's got. And to be fair to McKenna, at least he has a CV, and so do all the others. So if he's on the list, which I very much doubt, he certainly won't be heading the list. It would be a bad move.
So, Maya, what's your take on that? I was just thinking at
Oh,
least it will please the fans. Like,
my
same like
internet
Ole,
was
but Ole.
working, JC. His internet, he said his connection was poor, so I think he
Oh,
got.
sorry. Sorry. So, Garvan, maybe you can conclude on that. The only positive for now, and as let me read Dante's message. If assistant manager now, but was caretaker manager for promotion, and Dante also have this opinion that for now assistant will work, and myself including. But of course, when we are linked with McKenna, then I also similarly like you, Garvan. I was thinking, why not? Or maybe we are being too ambitious. I say we need to calm down a bit. We embrace change, but we don't. We should not embrace. I mean, we should not go for absolutely anything. I would say, right? But I can understand, Garvin, the excitement with Fabregas because we can resonate with him, right? So I was about to say that it's same like Olegona. We can at least the fans will be pleased if he's announced. People will not necessarily complain, but of course you don't take decisions based on that. But I'm just saying, and who knows? But maybe in future he could be one of the best coaches. And as Bobby said, he needs some experience. He needs to perhaps swim more or see the landscape of coaching before taking a huge job like in Chelsea. So I'll agree to that. So, but yeah, I mean, it got me excited thinking about Fabregas as a fan, of course, and looking at his interviews and the way he analyzes 4-2-2-2. I said maybe three times 4-2-2 formation. It was great to hear. I mean, of course, one can identify. Everyone has their own mind, so I can see that he is someone who will be a great coach. So let's see what happens.
Um, yeah. Well, as I said earlier, this is where, as Bobby, go back to what Sir Bobby was saying. This is where football is going now. It's just to pick the next best thing, out of the lot. Who's the next big thing? It can be McKenna, it can be Cesc Fabregas, it can be the other guy from Leicester City, it can be Zerbi. It's really sticky, and for us, that's why I said, like, this is a Hollywood. You know, Someone gonna have to make a movie on this in the future, because this is something that's gonna go down in history. A lot of people are saying this is how to rule in a club in less than 2 years. A rival, and I don't think this is ruling a club. I think this is something that, how to be patient with a project. And honestly, says Fabregas, will he be the man that we can grow with? Will McKenna be the man that we can grow with? I wouldn't go for McKenna because, as I said, he's coming from Tottenham to Manchester United, even though he worked with Jose Mourinho, but of the relationship that he have there. So I wouldn't consider him on my list. He would be one that I wouldn't consider, because I wouldn't want the same situation that happened with Pochettino happen again. Because for me, some part of the season, I think Pochettino sabotage, some of the games, trying to prove something when he come out and say, this is not the Chelsea of the last 20 years. My take on it. And because of how Chelsea take away the only thing that he needed the most in his career was the Premier League, we stopped him from winning that Premier League. So that wasn't a relationship was gonna work from day one. In the last part, yes, he put a smile on our face, but it still wasn't good enough, because we still was open that Manchester City beat Manchester United for us to finish in where we in somewhere close to where we want to be. So it wasn't good enough for me. So Fabregas probably will be the next big thing. Xavi Alonso, because remember, Xavi Alonso leave a Serie B assistant, being a Serie B. No, it wasn't Serie B. It was, I think he come from the Spanish league. He was in the division, I think the second division, and goes straight to Bayer Leverkusen, and we see the wonders that he done. So it's a risk, as what Sir Bobby said, But I would rather bring someone who know the culture of Chelsea Football Club, who know the standard that Chelsea should be, or where we should be at. And Cesc Fabregas know all of that. So I would rather take a risk right there than go for the two championship manager, in my point of view. That's a risk I would have take.
Garvan, like analyzed very well this point and kind of sold it, made more sense that we can, even if we are taking this route, it also makes sense that we can go for Fabregas. But this is so like a thin ice, right? Even Bobby, like, who is embracing this idea, I can understand his thinking. It's a little too early for Fabregas. On the other hand, I can understand what you're saying. I'm in the middle, you see, but we are on the same boat. For a change, we understand the landscape is changing. With McKenna, I think he has more experience. I can say that, working in England, working as an assistant, and I can understand the Tottenham link as well. And again, just to conclude this particular topic, we are only contemplating and talking because of the links with McKenna. Who knows? Maybe it's just an option for the management, for the sporting directors, and they are not. They are not. You can say he's not the priority or on top of the list. If he is, then of course this conversation will make sense that we can have Cesc Fabregas as well. But again, it's a very difficult call, right? If I'm in the board, I will have to analyze, not just brainstorm as we are doing here. Look at the numbers, look at the squad, look at the different situation. I mean, it's a lot of work, right, Bobby? It seems easier just to have a discussion, but it's a lot of work. What do you say, Bobby?
Yes, it is. I love Cesc as a player. I loved Lampard as a player. But at least Lampard, when he came to manage Chelsea, he had some head coach managerial experience, albeit with Derby. Cesc has none of that really. It's just too much. I would have him as an assistant, but not as a head coach. Categorically, I think this is how people come and tarnish their legacy. Chelsea fans will love it. They'll get excited. Well, some of them, but it will soon diminish with uh, 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 performances that aren't up to scratch, and it will happen. The Premier League is a tough league, as I've said earlier. You know, opposition study you. They learn how you play. They study your players. You have to many a times reinvent yourself, both as a team and very very much in game with tactics. That was one of the failings of Pochettino. I remember when we played. Who was it? I think was it uh, Villa, or who was it we played at Stamford? Wolves, that's right. And the Wolves manager, we went a goal up. The Wolves manager changed tactics, and Pochettino had no answer at all. And I think we lost that game 4-1 at home. So, we don't need those sort of hidings. We need somebody who kind of knows what he's doing, at least. And this is why, to me, McKenna, I think, is a smokescreen. I don't think he's quite ready. Maresca, maybe the same thing. To me, I think there are two real candidates here with the image they're looking for, and that is Roberto De Zerbi and Ruben Amorim. Shame about Thomas Frank, but I don't think he will be one in the final too.
Yes, I concur and I agree to that. And it's also an evolution to go for a De Zerbi or Ruben Amorim, both young coaches, right? 44, 39, so very young relatively. And so it's a safer bet if you would like to say that. Also going with a new structure, a new identity, not going for like both of these managers. They have not one thing in England, any stuff in England. Yes, Ruben Amorim has won a few trophies with Sporting Lisbon, and the final is tomorrow, right? Because I don't follow, so they are playing a final tomorrow. Garvin, is that
Yes,
correct?
their final is tomorrow.
Okay, so let's hope he wins. I would say maybe if he comes here, we can have another trophy in his history, in his CV. So yeah, these two. Yeah, to wrap it up. I mean, as far as this conversation goes, personally, for me, of course, looking at what I have, these two would be safer bets, and still would be something that integrates with the model De Zerbi, as I have explained very well. And risks are there, as Bobby alluded very well. Him adapting, not being found out as did in this season. But again, on the other hand, Bobby, who knows? Could also be because he didn't have the players. So many 5, 6, 7 players, key players, sold by Brighton. So, but he's rated very high in the industry. His style of play is no doubt very attractive, but of course the purpose is to win the games at the end of the day. So as much, I mean, this is interesting. And Garvin, you said that maybe they are putting McKenna and Enzo Maresca, and with all due respect, the managers who from the championship or second division out there. So if and eventually they would announce De Zerbi, the fan would embrace that. So do you still have this opinion, and what would you like to say? Because as we speak, the last hour in the social media, in the tabloids, is again linking us heavily. It's coming back. Of course, we don't know, and all of us over here don't really believe in this. But because, as we say, there's no smoke without fire, and the Zerbi news, as we speak, is catching fire with him being a strong candidate for Chelsea. So, Garvin, would you like to elaborate on this more? Because you really believe that this was a plan. You have this theory, or some people will say you're being a conspiracy theorist. So, what would you like to say to these fans that, and do you still believe that this is the plan to go for De Zerbi?
Yeah, I can remember. Remember, I was telling you that from all season, I was telling you that the last 5 or 6 games of the season, we were gonna turn up, and I've been getting my getting them right. But with the Zerbi, it's just all there to see. It's clear because if you look at what they do with Pochettino, as I said earlier, the way we got so many managers in, and the way how we've been doing business with Brighton, why deserve a walk away so quickly from that job, at the same time as Pochettino. Some contacts probably have been made. If we get rid of Pochettino, would you take the job? As I said, like deep down inside of me, I believe that Pochettino already know he was gonna go from at least the last 7 games after season. I think from that Arsenal defeat, I think that decision already made. I think what Pochettino did, it was just trying to build something on his CB to show, if when he get fired, at least if a club come in for him, he can show this is what I can do. That's just my belief. I think he already know he was a dead man walking, because from then when he started coming out in the media and the way how he started carrying himself in the media, that wasn't Pochettino. And when it come on to the Zerbi, the way how he was carrying himself in the media too, I'm gonna have to speak with the reporting director, see if they met my ambition. And his ambition is to have a stable team where all of his players not gonna be sold, every summer. And Chelsea's building something, so they're not gonna sell any of these young players that they get in right now. They want to build a team out of these young players, and that's what De Zerbi wants. I know everyone is saying that they want he want control of transfer. I don't think the Zerbi want control of transfer. I think the Zerbi need a stable. Um, what the word I'm looking for? Bobby, probably you can help me right here. A stable institution.
Yeah. Well, Brighton is a stable institution, but it's a selling club. And De Zerbi, I can see he wants a stable squad to
Yeah,
work with and grow with. And this is why I say he ticks a lot of the boxes. I don't know that much about Amarin. I think Amarin is not discounted because the fact that they are waiting for that final to be played could be telling that he could be the person also. So we won't know till we know. But I think De Zerbi is a very, very strong front runner.
Yes, you can perhaps go back so I can read Lord Dante's message, one or two messages. He's been engaging with us, and I appreciate his time always to join and support. It means a lot. He says, I thought Emerim doesn't speak English well, but he is actually very good. Another take. English, I don't know, but I don't think so. It would be a reason for not him to, I mean, for the sporting directors not to give him the job. But as I said, you know, first of all, to me, he's very strong. His character is very strong. He's only 39. And people again like give references of ABV. I mean, okay, that's different era. What he did, he came here and failed. It doesn't mean it's the same. You got the point, right? You got the crux. So if if Emerim is being successful here, it doesn't mean he's in another ABB, right? It's bonkers to me that's an exception, not the rule, I would say. So, given his tenure, as you said, against Arsenal, and also in the league, let's be honest, Sporting Lisbon are not didn't win for 11 years, and it's Porto who dominates the league, right? And he has been super consistent with them. The only thing is that he plays a back three, back five. He's more defensive. He's not an attacking coach, as some of the players, some of the fans were saying. They perhaps mix it. He's intense, very intense, fast, but he is a defensive manager. Plays a back three, back five, 3-4-3. According to some of the journalists, this could be a reason that it might not fit the profile. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Even if he plays a back three, if he takes the boxes, he is a good coach. He has a good methodology. Who cares? And as we spoke in the last podcast, Garvan, the back three has been giving us a lot of success, if anything, right? So Bobby, do you think if we believe that because he is primarily a defensive coach who plays on the counter, plays with the back three, that he won't suit or he won't be the correct fit for the sporting directors? Ruben Amorim, that is.
Yeah, as I said, I'm going to try and look into him a bit more. I'm not sure if formation is everything. He might play like that because Portuguese, if I remember, the Portuguese league is quite defensively orientated anyway, if I'm correct. They're not, you don't see much cavalier football there. But does it mean that's the only way he can play? Well, if it is, he's in trouble in the Premier League because you have to be adaptable. You have to play several ways. So I don't know. I can't really attest to that. I think a lot, maybe too much, is made about starting formations. If the Premier League is anything, or indeed watching Champions League and European football is anything to go by, you'll find that a lot of these coaches, they may start with one formation, but in game they change a lot to fit the opposition and to counter what's been thrown at them. And you've got to be able to do that. So I'm not sure, a lot of is being said about the back three and Amarin. How stuck to that process is he is something I don't know. I can't answer. but I will say he needs to be capable of more flexibility with his team to survive and to achieve with Chelsea. And to be fair, who knows? The profile of players he had to deal with at Sporting will be different to what he has at Chelsea, what he will have at Chelsea. So he may have been playing that way because of what he was dealing with, and he may play another way because of what he has at Chelsea. I mean, people were very much about how Poch played the back four, and I think he was a exponent. Was it the 4-2-4-1? 4-2-4, yeah.
4-2-3-1, yeah.
Yeah, 4-2-3-1. I think he was meant to be very much into that, and indeed the 4-3-3. As it was, Poch played an awful lot of 4-4-2, especially in game. And that was because of the caliber and the type of players he had. So I wouldn't like to pin Amarin down to a particular formation, but I can understand and appreciate the fact that that is a huge consideration. And yet again, dare I say it, these are the things that lean more in the favor of De Zerbi. You know, De Zerbi is a very strong candidate for this job, whether we like it or not. Yeah.
So, Garvan, how much have you analyzed, watched Sporting Lisbon? People have different takes to what I have seen, what Tobeho has shared with me. Of course, he has played attacking. I'm not saying that he parks the bus. You understand what I mean by defensive,
Uh-huh.
playing with the back three, playing on the counter. To be clear, let me make it clear. I'm not saying he parks the bus or something of that sort. So, generally speaking, I think we can all agree with that. It's a 3-4-3, right? Three,
Yeah,
three,
and
four,
Gabriel
two.
was saying something earlier, where he was saying that he play more like Klopp, and I think he put another one there
So
where
what do you think? I mean, if as Bobby and was elaborating on it, even if he goes with the back three, I'm just saying, let's for the sake of the argument, right? What's wrong with that? Even if he goes with the back three, if anything, there are certain school of thoughts, including myself, it will give a good structure to the defense. What's your take on that, Govan?
um if you go with a back three, because remember De Zerbi used to play a back three earlier in his Brighton senior too, before he really go to a back four. So a back three, I don't think nothing wrong with it. It's just a formation. It's just the way how you utilize a formation. Um, a system is there for you to use to your best of your ability. But as Bobby was saying earlier, you have to be ready to adapt to your opponent. So if you see that you're playing against a strong team and you have to go to that formation, you have to. But if you're playing against a low block team, you don't need that formation. So it's just the way how the manager decide how you want to use it. Use his team on the day. And for me, I always say, because formation is just something that we just use to let it look pretty. But the game really won on the field, and it lose on the field is how your opponent is playing, and the way how you're willing and ready to adapt to fit that system that the other team are using. It's just who's gonna make the best of their opportunity, at that point in time. So for me, the formation don't really matter to me if he come in with a back three or back four or back five, or it's just the result on the field for me. So if he's the right man for the job and he can get the best out of the players, the whole entire team, no excuse about the injury, because injury is a must in the game. That's why you always have to have your 25-man squad ready and ready to go at any time, given time. So I agree with Bobby. The formation don't really matter to me. But if you have to play the back three to get the result, I'm down for it. If you have to switch it up, I'm down for it, long as we're getting the result on the field.
Exactly, I completely agree. But as we were discussing that, according to some reports, first let me read the message. Lord Dante says 3-4-3, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, I would say. Uh, uh, but as what Bobby was alluding to, that if he needs to, right, he can always come with the same methodology,
Mhm.
but it depends on the profile. Maybe he doesn't have the profile over there. Over here, he might say, okay, let's go to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, 4-2-2-2, whatever, right? Change more, use the wings more, whatever that might be. So, uh, to give my perspective, like I, of course, as I have told you, Gavin, many times, I'm been a huge fan of Mourinho, Simeone, giving trying to imply that I don't mind this style. And at the same time, I've been a huge fan of Guardiola and Flick. It's super attacking, possession based, high line, or a very defensive setup, back 5-3. So as long as you win the game, you do utilize that formation or tactics better. So the whole point of addressing this, according to, again, we have to say according to, because in the last 4 days there have been unlimited news from everywhere, and some of the mainstreams also reporting that there is a certain reservation with his playing style and if he fits in. So personally, I would not take that into consideration. If we tick the boxes, if he's a great coach on its own, right? The sporting directors should not worry what formation he use. I mean, if they want the new manager to play a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, that honestly to me that is absurd. That is just narrowing it down a lot. But I hope that's not the reality. But if we see the holistic picture and the possession based kind of a person, I mean the manager slash coach they are looking for, then I agree with Bobby, I agree with you and most of the fans, analysts, that Roberto De Zerbi looks likely to fit in and could be our next manager slash coach.
Who's gonna go, me or Bobby? I'm sorry, Bobby.
Bobby, anything you like to add, or any other thing you can always come and give your perspective. Any other topic you would like to address?
Yeah, sorry, I was struggling to unmute. Yeah, I think that's about it at the moment. For me, the two front runners is either Amarin or De Zerbi for different reasons. With De Zerbi, in my opinion, being, this is not my choice, just my opinion, being ahead of everyone else slightly for obvious reason. So he fits exactly what they're looking for.
And the reason why a lot of people are saying Deserby, I think someone take a picture of him, said he was in London, so probably that's why the rumors started to go around. It can be anyway. Because I saw an article where they're saying Deserby was in London yesterday, so
But
maybe.
honestly speaking, I want honest look into that. I mean, and I was in London 2 days ago, so they would travel. He's free, so I understand where you're coming from, but I won't take this as any indication. But as you have previously said, that they have been interested for a long time. If they get rid of Poch, it's nothing new that De Zerbi was in on their radar. So I don't know if maybe it's a stroke of genius that they're throwing all the names like McKenna and Enzo Maresca, with all due respect, because they know maybe the fans are not so warmed to you can say welcome him if we go with the understanding in the fan base, because a lot of fans said, if I remember well, that we would prefer to keep Pochettino if De Zerbi is the option, right, Garvan? You can attest to that. So
Yes.
perhaps you see they are trying to build this up to get De Zerbi. I don't know. This is what you said to me. So do you still believe that to be the case?
That can be a big factor because of what we read, and if we put our 2 cents to it, You know, that can be the one of the main factor. And then again, looking back on an old article where they're saying Zerbi probably gonna go to Napoli, and said he won. And then I think Dante put it up, or Gabriel put it up, that he said that he was gonna, in his last interview, he was going back to Italy, and he wasn't ruling out to come back to the Premier League. Premier League would be one of his first choice. So again, come back around to the title of the video, Hollywood right now, so proper, because none of us know. We all three of us here, and we all just sitting here and waiting to see what's next. This movie is a movie to be continued, because I know for sure we're gonna have an emergency broadcast, because none of us know what's gonna happen. We're gonna wake up and we're gonna see something different tomorrow. Hopefully that they don't announce it too early. They announce it when we all wake up and get our day going. So at least we can have a good morning. Just wake up in the morning and have a wonderful breakfast without just wake up with that news so shocking to you, because whatever choices they make, someone not going to be happy and some going to be happy. So that's why I would just rather they do it during the day when everyone wake up and in a good mood, or can accept it.
Yeah, we have to agree to that. Let's wait and see. It really is an intriguing situation.
So, yeah, Garvan, so if you would like to add something to the managerial, you can say opinions, skeptics, talks, analysis, or you can say predictions. So there is also one name we forgot. Yes, Bobby briefly hit on him. Uh, Thomas Frank. I was just checking. He's still there in the top three, according to the bookmakers for some reason, and in other reports. So if you would like to talk on him personally, I'm not sold. I think you know why. I know he's a very good coach as far as tactics, as Bobby said, very astute, adapt, don't have one way to play. So it's a show versatility, right? But let me be very brief to explain what I'm trying to say. Like he's not like an elite manager who has won stuff. Hear me out what I'm trying to say. And he's also not an upcoming manager with potential, if you see what I'm trying to say. So either you go with these traditional ways, that is, as Bobby said, as what I understand, is not perhaps the way moving forward in the modern landscape of football, or you go for emerging, promising candidates. So I believe because he's already experienced enough, and I'm not saying his potential is here, of course, because he worked with Brentford, did well. Potential is still perhaps higher. But if you see, he is in the middle as of now. So he's not a young upcoming manager, neither he is a proven elite manager, if I was able to explain my point. So in that context, he is in the middle, right? So he's neither on the way that certain fans want to go for a serial winner, or an upcoming promising talent like Xabi Alonso or Cesc Fabregas, McKenna, Maresca, or even Ruben Amorim / De Zerbi. So Garvan, anything you would like to say on Thomas Frank, and then Bobby can also perhaps address or maybe analyze a bit on him, and if he thinks, if on a certain Monday morning we see him as our next manager, so how should we prepare ourselves? Should we have any reason to believe it to be anything positive?
I'm not gonna sit here and say Thomas Frank is a bad coach. We all know how his team set up, and probably quality player, you probably can see a different outcome. Brighton, not Brighton, sorry. His team built up to play a more like
Brentford.
Brentford, yeah, they built to play like if you guys remember when Stoke City was in the Premier League, those physical robust, no one want to go to Stokes on a rainy or a winter. So for me, it's I will put it this way: said I don't think it fit the model that Todd Bowley was talking in that interview, where he was saying they want to play more like a position based type of game. The only way we're gonna get that and get the best out of Enzo is to play a style that's gonna fit Enzo and Caicedo in the team without having that type of style of play. We're gonna have to drop Enzo out of the team or a Caicedo. So this ownership want Caicedo and Enzo to fit together, and I think that's one of Pochettino biggest downfall with Chelsea this season because he couldn't find a way how to fit both in the same team, and I think that's why he got the axe, in my point of view. So I don't think it's just because of the result only. He was struggling to try to fit and he want to make a point. My opinion, I can be right, I can be wrong, but I think he was trying to make a point to the board because soon as Enzo Fernandez is out of the team, he switched that formation completely and we start to get resolved. So this can be something that's intentional for me, because he's trying to prove a point to say that I cannot put these two players together. So always go back to Pochettino. So for me, Frank wouldn't be the one of the candidate in my honest opinion, because he like to use physical player just like Pochettino. He's a similar manager like Pochettino who like a robust, strong midfielder who's gonna die on that pitch. Gonna give everything. Doesn't care if you can use the ball or not. He just want runner, strong, physical men in that middle of the pitch. And I don't think Chelsea is trying to do that or go down that road.
So Bobby, as you can follow
Oh,
up on that.
So Bobby cut off. Seems like his internet. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the Chelsea fan, Anthony, sorry, looks very positive. He says that he told BBC, proven in the league. I mean, Thomas Frank, proven. I don't know when they say proven in the, what do they mean by that, right? He did well, but proven would be to win something or to uh, achieve something significant. So proven in the league, proven to be able to adjust to player losses throughout the season, good with media, and is harmonious with the owners. I don't see them to be the most important factors to go for a coach, right? I mean, good with media, you don't necessarily need to have that in your top 5 reasons to hire a coach. What do you say, Garvan?
Yeah, to go with the media, you're not trying to please the media. You're trying to please your fan and your worldwide fans. So I don't think that would be a factor. Jose Mourinho wasn't good with the media at times, and a manager gonna always defend themselves and defend their club. Doesn't matter what the media say. So with the
Sorry,
media,
just a quick thing, just an example came just to add to that. Good with the media, no one was better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with the media, right, Garvan?
yes, correct. And Frank Lampard, so it don't have nothing to do with the media. It's all about what you can do on the pitch. And Chelsea is a win-win club. Like it's know how to win. A lot of people been saying today, they're not really disappointed of the result with Manchester United because Chelsea can be the first team to complete football. If we go win that tournament, we will be one of the first team to win every single trophies that dare to be won. And it's not a bad thing. Most of us were concerned why we didn't want to play in the Conference League is because of the financial. So for me, I'm not worried about the media part, because the media are gonna always bash Chelsea. The media are gonna always want the club to banter. Arsenal was the banter club for many, many years. Then it fall on to Manchester United. but they all know they can banter Manchester United too long because they're one of the greatest team in the world. So now Chelsea's in this situation. Everyone want to jump on the wagon to banter Chelsea. So you're going to have good media and you're going to have bad media. A lot of the media are going to always be on Chelsea. So why would they want to worry about the media when they need to worry about on the pitch and how to get the media started to say good stuff about Chelsea? Because everyone is right now sitting and waiting with their pens and paper, ready to hear, here we go, to either write something positive or something negative or something in between. Any manager that we choose, someone going to always have something to write until we start to win on the pitch again. So my biggest say on this is to find a manager that can win on the pitch. So give the media less to talk about. The only way we can think about the media is to do something on the pitch.
Yes, I agree with you. Let me read Dante's comment. And again, thanks for staying with us. If you can go back, Garvan, if you don't mind. So I can read his comment. Lord Dante's, he is like a great supporter, of the community, supports Chelsea perspective. He is from Melbourne, Australia, and great, also a great friend of mine, and he has great knowledge of football, by the way. So maybe sometime he can join your stream when he has time, and his takes are spot on and very rational, I would say, very rational.
Add him to the group so he can join the panel when he's ready.
So he says the following: he didn't. I mean, I think he's talking about Pochettino, right? He didn't change formation. He moved. I always laugh at this thing. He moved Roadrunner 10. Garvan, Roadrunner 10 Gala back. So we were way better attacking. Also, the move to invert left back to help mids as well was Thiago Silva, who suggested that move. Okay, so let's go, because Dante is talking on that, and as we have already analyzed to a greater extent on the managers. So let's go and talk on this delicious take by Dante. Do you really believe, because it's a possibility, Garvan, that as he says, that the inverted left back was Thiago Silva idea suggested to Pochettino? Do you think this could be a possibility, just for the sake of argument?
No, it's not saying it could be a possibility. It's the fact. When Bel Silva come out and she was stated that something have to change, and it was referring to Pochettino because what he was doing, we all know he was sabotaging the team because it wasn't good for the team. I know he's saying that he was building something, but if you notice, the players that really come out and say something was only Nicholas Jackson and probably Cole Palmer say something, but you weren't hearing a lot of these players come out and saying too much, to be quite honest. So that to show you that what was going on in the dressing room for the last 5 or 6 games, none of the way can come out and say that the halftime talk was most likely Thiago Silva, and that's when we come back. And from then on, that's when they stick to the formation. And to go back to what I was saying earlier about Pochettino, he's not brave enough to do the job. I know that Pochettino, in his mind, he know that he was going to leave. He just here for one season. So he was just there to collect the cash, because most of the time on the bench, Pochettino normally never help and give an instruction. So that to show you that it was a man that's on the sideline that as soon as he walk in, the reaction he get from the fan, and even in his last game, when they asked him, why you didn't even adjust the fans, and he was like, oh, this is Thiago Silva moment. That's exactly words that he used. So that to show you that he know he was gonna go, because number one, he's not feeling the fan. The fan is not feeling him, and it doesn't matter if it's Thiago Silva moment. You just let the team finish in 6th place from where we're coming from. At least adjust the fans, and it didn't. So for me, that to show you that Thiago Silva was the man was leading this final part of the season. He was the man that was leading that dressing room.
Okay, so I brought this up. It's the news of the day, of course, at GFC Garvan. Of course, it's
Hold
heavily.
on. Let me tell Gabriel thank you because it seems like he's leaving us. I mean,
Oh,
I
sure.
really appreciate the support and come back at any time. You said see us on Monday. We're looking forward for this on Monday for the announcement. So we'll be back here for emergency, broadcast either on Blueboard Analyst channel or on this channel or our coach Chiller. So we'll be one way or the
And
other.
my friend Tobeho, sorry, to the coolest Chelsea podcast. Also, please like and subscribe. My
Thank
friend
you.
in South Africa, Tobeho. Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Dante was saying, very well said, Garvin. I really appreciate it, Dante. Like, we have to be honest. We have to talk about this beautiful game and Rich Money Maker in the building, man. I really appreciate you. Never leave us, always here. So I just want to say, like, we have to be honest with ourselves. This is the only way we can fix Chelsea is try to stay positive because positivity will go a long way. And we have to stick together, and we can't go out there and be listening to rival with all the negativity because once the negativity start to get to you, you're gonna fall for it. So we have to stick together as a community and try to figure out how can we solve some of these problems that we got. Go ahead, Jersey.
Sorry, I was typing something. Sorry, apologize for this pause. Another channel. Which channel? Oh, okay, perhaps I missed something. So, Rich, take it easy. So yeah, so this tweet, perhaps I have pressed. 1 second, please. Sorry about that. Okay, is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so maybe it could be a very unpopular opinion, and I always come up with different things. So, okay, first of all, and yeah, I remember now. I was saying or telling the audience, whoever is listening or will catch this stream later, that of course all of our streams, my stream, Garvin's, Coolest Chills, it's of course related to Chelsea. It's heavily Chelsea centric. 97.5, 98%, but there is a 2, right, Garvin? 2 to 2.5%, you can say scope, or you can say area where we can cover any breaking news or any significant cup final to a certain degree. So it's all about Chelsea, but we can always talk about different events, Champions League semi-final, finals. So Ten Hag says after winning the cup. So it's I would say, a great dig to his critics. He says 2 trophies in 2 seasons and 3 finals. Not bad. Yes, sir, not bad. And he says the following. And it's interesting. I really love reading this. If they don't want me anymore, I'll go somewhere else. Please underline it down somewhere else, and I'll come back to that. Underline or put it in bold somewhere else. If they don't want me anymore, I'll go somewhere else and win trophies. That's what I do. Garvan, if the list we have of what we discuss about the managers, honestly speaking, it will be a very unpopular decision. But if you put Ten Hag in that list, given that I don't have any update, if he's sacked or not, you can always update me. Let's say if the board still go and part ways tomorrow or day after tomorrow, right? And let's say you put his name among the 5 managers we discussed. To me, he would be a standout choice for the next Chelsea Football Club head coach. Garvan, very unpopular opinion. What's your take on that?
The thing is, I can't be biased when I'm talking about the game. I have to talk it the way how I see it and the way how I think it should be. No bias, just facts. The Ten Hag that was at Ajax with young players, bring through young players, develop young players, nurture them, let them go for big money like 100 and something million dollars. That Ten Hag will be good, for what we're doing. The Ten Hag at Manchester United, I wouldn't take because I don't see enough. But again, we can look at it and say Ten Hag like to go with young players, but Ten Hag, even some Manchester United outlet, he's the one that signed a lot of these players, because he got the power to bring in the players that he want to bring in. So Ten Hag got a two side of him. He's kind of a little bit bipolar. So this part of him that was at Ajax is an excellent manager. I would take him any day of the week. But the one at Manchester United, I wouldn't take. But with Ten Hag, if he got a sporting directors that going to sign the players and give him the players to work with, I think you will get a better Ten Hag. Just like with Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard is excellent at spotting talent. He will bring in the best talent that there is. But Frank Lampard as a manager, as everyone would say, is not a good manager. But he's an excellent talent ID. He can find talent. Ten Hag was an excellent manager with young players, but it seems like his talent ID is not good enough. So if you can put a Ten Hag and Lampard together and make one, you will get the next Pep Guardiola. So right now for me, it's just I want to consider Ten Hag at this point in time. I don't know if Manchester United job put too much strain on him, and if he can come back from the disaster that he have in Manchester United. But one thing I can say about Ten Hag, you give him that Chelsea team in that final against Liverpool, he would have won it. Ten Hag is a man know how to win titles. He know how to cross the line. And I can give him that. But with a 38-game season, I don't think I would trust
him. So I'll try to say this. Look, even Tuchel had a horrible, we can say, horrible season. Yeah, he went to the semi-final, but in Bundesliga Cup, what the standards of Bayern are, he had a horrible season. Hansi Flick, my favorite, had a horrible last 1.5 year with German national team, right? Ten Hag, I don't know if we should say horrible. I have to analyze. He has a cup in front of me, an FA Cup. A very average season, you can say, with a cup, right? So I hope the audience understand where I'm coming from. So Tuchel won't become a bad manager, which most of the Chelsea fans agree he's not a bad manager for having a underwhelming season at Bayern Munich. Similarly, Hansi Flick, people can have different opinion, but his overall profile won't become bad because of his last appointment with the German national team not going well, not delivering the results. Similarly with Ten Hag. Ten Hag is not a new coach. He has a long CV. What he did was Ajax, I would say, stand out, right? Not just winning there, because a lot of the only argument of the skeptics are sorry. I apologize for that. Just took a quick sip. So the only you can say skepticism or criticism is of all these managers who do well in Ajax, Bayerns of this world, is that they did there. What else can they do? Because they're there, right? One. But he didn't win the Champions League, but he did very well 2 seasons in a row, defeated Real Madrid twice, defeated another big team, I forgot which team. So he did very well in the Champions League. He was very competitive. Now moving forward to Manchester United, in the first season he finished 3rd. Now you must be thinking I'm singing praise for him. I'm a person of context. Right now it's in front of me, so I'm talking on him. And I never said he was a bad manager. If you see, whenever I talked on him, I always like, we don't like United. The Chelsea fans, most of the Chelsea fans don't have any relationship, affection towards United. It's a lot of animosity, if anything. So in that context, we always made fun of Ten Hag. But now, talking analytically with rational on your head, first season he finished third, right, Garvan? Third in his first season last year, 22/23, won the Carabao Cup and also went to the final last year in May and lost to Man City, which he overcome this year. So I'm not saying that he's the best manager out there. So understand this context. This year finished eighth, what, 5 points behind Chelsea, 58 points, I believe. He finished with 58 or 59 points. Sorry, I forgot the exact point. So underwhelming season. Also in the Champions League, yes, but he won the FA Cup in Garvan. The game that he played today. Okay, a lot of people are saying that Chelsea. Sorry, Chelsea. I wish it was Chelsea. We deserve to be in the final. The penalty was not given, so I have to complain again. Uh, some people are saying Manchester City didn't play too well, but I would say Manchester United, they were brilliant today, especially in the first half. The counter-attacking football, as I mean, it was, I would say, amazing. It was I was thinking that Ten Hag is showing that he is much better than Pochettino, at least in this game. He did well. Poch against uh, Guardiola, three good games but never crossed the line, right? And it's not Ten Hag's first win. I think he has defeated him twice before as well in the last season. So the way that he sets up the team, he won the midfield battle, parked 5-6 players, played with 4-2-3-1 with a 3-5-2 in transition, and the way they counter attack, they could have scored 3-4 goals, Garvan, in the first half, right? They could have scored 3-4 goals. And you might be thinking I'm like a huge fan. No, I'm just trying to put a case. And then and one more thing, Lisandro Martinez, if I pronounce his name correctly, the Argentine defender,
Yes.
he was not available for the last 5 months, something like that. He just played here and he was the man of the match. And Guardiola says he's the top five. I don't know if he's the top five center back in the world, but to me, he made the difference. And with Viran playing together, they played the most of the season when they finished top three last season. They both of them were missing. Viran played few of the games here and there. Both of them played, and clearly, I was analyzing as I was watching. It was Lisandro Martinez who made the entire difference to their defense, and of course Garnacho's run, Rashford's on the counter attack. The point what I'm trying to make is not at all giving Manchester United any praise. I'm talking on Ten Hag, that when he had few of the players back from the injury, and we don't have to talk on Poch because Poch didn't win anything, right? So we don't have to go and defend him, and he's gone. So we are talking moving forward, and he won the game, right? So he showed over the 97 minutes, he was didn't even not only he did win, but he was the better manager. The team, Manchester United, were better, in my opinion, than Manchester City. It was a convincing victory, a great strategic win. So, and now to conclude, I would like to talk 1 hour on one thing, so I'm being very fast. It's only what 5 minutes on Ten Hag. So, when you have the Zerbi, of course, now we are warming up to him. We are kind of excited about him. Yeah, Ruben Amorim is one I may prefer over Ten Hag, but then we have Thomas Frank, and with all due respect, as I said many times, McKenna's of this world, Maresca's of this world. And if you throw Ten Hag, first of all, to anyone who's listening or anyone out there, he is still in the job. So I have to clear that. It's a discussion based on a big if, which could still be that he's sacked, because a lot of Manchester United fans now are talking are pushing the Ten Hag situation, and makes sense, I would say. So if he's replaced, he was not in the picture because he's with United. If he's replaced, why not Ten Hag? Why not Ten Hag over De Zerbi or Maresca, over Kieran McKenna, over Thomas Frank? with Ruben Amorim, I don't know. I'll still take Ruben Amorim, I would say, right? But with the rest of them, we have Ten Hag, an amazing coach, I would say, right, Garvan? I'm trying to put a case out there. With the entire history, the struggles this season, still won the cup. A very strong mentality, a great coach. So why not go for Eric Ten Hag? And if we don't go for him, Garvan, a lot of a huge section of the fan base have this point that why we don't go for Eric Ten Hag or a Nagelsmann or go back for a Tuchel is that I know we have been very positive in this stream, but we also have to analyze this area of this fan base who are saying that the only reason why these managers won't be considered is because they would demand stuff, because they would try to have an input, and the owners only want a yes man. How true do you think this claim of the fan base of this section of the fan base is?
As we were saying earlier in the stream, I think most of these managers already run their course, and because they got a reputation, you know, they're really stubborn with it. So I don't think like your Thomas Tuchel, your Ten Hag, and I don't think they will match what the revolution of what the beautiful game is bringing right now. To be quite honest, I think these managers now are gonna have to sort of look towards international because their tactics are already either find out or they're too stubborn, to collab for these new owners that taking over the game. Because these new owners that taking over the game right now, their main thing is to make profit and to try to build a sustainable, team. So it wouldn't work. For once, Ten Hag want to be in control, and if he's gonna stay at Manchester United, they're not going to give him that control. So therefore, it's a no-no. We're going to wake up tomorrow or Monday and hear that he's been sacked, unless he decide that he's going to change his ways and his mentality. So I want to take him at Chelsea, to be quite honest. I would rather take something fresh. I need something fresh. Someone that no one knows about, or someone that can come and just take the league by storm. Because I don't mind to wake up there in the next season and see I'm a Premier League champion, to be quite honest. Which we know that is not. We're not saying it's not possible, because we maybe can do a Leicester, or we can end up doing a Bayer Leverkusen. You never can tell. So I would take something fresh. Sometimes a breath of fresh air sometimes is really good. Most of the time is really good. So Ten Hag already run his course. He shows true colors in the Premier League. And for me, for Manchester United and the Casemiro and Varane, like, he should have been up there with the best of the best, because those are world class players that do it to the highest level that's possible. So for me, it's a no.
All right, I tried to sort the idea, but it did not work. It did not work. So, yeah, interesting. So, Garvin, if you have to predict, I know because we have already analyzed and we'll definitely talk more. If you have to predict, what's your gut feeling, right? Now all we can do is predict, right? And I think what I understand, you think it's going to be De Zerbi. So am I correct? If you have to predict, is it De Zerbi that you will predict to be a
Yeah,
new head coach in a day or two?
De Zerbi. Out of those three, I will take De Zerbi. And then Enzo after would be my second choice.
Yes, the tweet have these four options. It doesn't include Ruben Amorim, but if you put Ruben Amorim, I will still have Amorim as my first choice. And then, okay, sake of argument, what the tweet says rank the managers. Second would be De Zerbi. Third would be Maresca, Enzo Maresca. Fourth would be Thomas Frank, and McKenna will be the last one, fifth. So I'll have Thomas Frank over McKenna at this moment. So let me read the Dante's tweet. Sorry, I'm saying tweet because we are discussing that. Dante's message: Ten Hag contract expiring anyway, so menu no big loss. If he has to stay, his salary drops another 25%. Had a clause in contract if doesn't qualify Champions League. So interesting. That's interesting. So Garvan, do you think they will sack Ten Hag after he convincingly, I would say, won the FA Cup and also won a lot of fans back?
Yeah, they're gonna sack him regardless. As I said, unless he's gonna cooperate with the new owners, But I think Ten Hag is a dead man walking. To be quite honest, I think they already made their choice because every new owners that come in always want to start off with their own personnel. So I think Ten Hag will be um, probably by tomorrow or Monday. They probably give them the time to celebrate today and tomorrow, and probably Monday morning is one of the first news we get. That he mutually they part ways. You know, that's my take on it.
Okay, yes, Garvan. Okay, we know we have to wind the show in 5 minutes. I think it has been a brilliant stream, and thank you for everyone who tuned in. So I think we have covered a lot for now, and we'll see what happens in the emergency podcast. Be ready for that, Garvan. It can be any time, so I'll call you if we need to do the emergency podcast when the new owner is appointed. And since we're talking on Ten Hags, and I know we don't have to cover Manchester United, but just for the sake of argument, if you're confident that he will be sacked, who do you think will be Manchester United's next manager? Will it be Pochettino?
Honestly, I think they already. I think they already addressed. I think they made contact with Pochettino while he was talking all those crap in the latter stages. I think they already approached him, and not only him too. I think they do approach the Zerbi, so and they approach McKenna. So therefore, they got three managers that we're looking into that they really they approach already. So or Thomas Tuchel, I forgot Thomas Tuchel. So it's gonna be one of those four at Manchester United. Gareth Southgate, I don't think so because it's gonna be too late in the season. And if England do reach a final, Southgate, I'm just going to Rich Money Maker. Southgate would be a no, to be quite honest. Dante was asking you, saying something there, so I didn't.
Yeah, Dante said an interesting thing. I think he understands my enthusiasm and the energy, and that I didn't sleep for 2 days in a row when Poch was sacked, or you can say replaced by mutual consent. So he says that Jerry Z, you can't be on 4 to 5 podcasts at the same time. I wish I can be on 4 to 5 podcasts. You never know with technology what can happen. I would be up for that. I was thinking to do a 24-hour stream one day, a 24-hour stream to just go berserk. So yeah, I was already predicted it will be Pochettino to Manchester United. But at the same time, if the landscape has changed, maybe they will also go for a very young upcoming manager, because we know they have talked to McKenna. He's also on the shortlist. If I have to predict, I would say McKenna to Brighton makes more sense, right? At this time, McKenna to Brighton. But yes, if we go with whatever we have in front of us, I would still think Pochettino would be the favorite. McKenna possible if they want to go to this route. And which other name that you mentioned? De Zerbi, yes, possibly, yes. We forgot that De Zerbi too. If he's not coming because we are so sure he's coming here, right? We are so sure that De Zerbi would come to Chelsea. If not, then yes, De Zerbi can give a very tough time to Pochettino if Pochettino is indeed on the top of the list. And I heard recently that they want Tuchel, they liked Tuchel, but again, it makes sense. Dante says Tuchel to United seems likely. I believe that's what he's trying to say. But yeah, I was trying to say that they had him on top of the list, but according to Matlaw and Onstein, they have reservations now, and it makes sense going with the new direction, right? Because Tuchel is so hands-on, he and also his demeanor. I'm not saying it's bad, but he's challenging. He challenged the hierarchy, so they have this. All, as much as they want Tuchel, you understand what I'm trying to say. They have a lot of reservation on Tuchel's other side of how he conducts his business, and they are also skeptical on his time at Bayern Munich. So, but if I have to make a choice, Tuchel, of course, is a better manager or the best manager in this list. As long as they can resolve, I don't think so. As much as I'm open for this change, I don't think so. Why not? You still go for a Tuchel or a uh, Eric Ten Hag in that regard. You can always find a middle ground, right? It's not that all of a sudden all these managers are out of the equation. Because if you see the life cycle or the and how this world is in any domain, even if this evolution has brought these elite managers or experienced managers back, right, Garvan? With this new managers who are here, this theory that this concept has phased out, I don't believe. You know why, Garvan? When these new managers would come in the next 4, 5, 6 years, they will eventually be, some of them would be a Pep, some not of course Pep, he is a general. Some of them would be a Tuchel or a very successful manager. One of them would be an Ancelotti, one of them would be you can say a Mourinho or close to that. I mean, among the new managers we are talking about and who will come in the next few years, in the next 5 to 6, 7 years, they will be these high profile managers eventually, right? So this concept is for now, but eventually they will turn into all these Tuchels and Mourinho's and of course I'm not saying Guardiola, because I believe Guardiola, Sir Alex are exceptional generational managers. So you understand, and then it's not that they would go out of fashion after 5 years. If Ruben Amorim, the Zerbi or McKenna or Nagelsmann would be the top four, let's say for argument, managers in the next 5, 6 years, win leagues, Champions League, they will still be what, late in the mid 40s, late 40s, most of them. It's not that they would be replaced then. If you see what I'm trying to say, this evolution is working for now, but eventually the life cycle, you can say, or the mean or the standard deviation would still come back to that. These people are going now and they are going for a change, but with integration, with time, eventually we'll come back to them. Like for a bit, you can say, for a brief period, we don't feel that kind of an elite connection, but eventually we will get some of them. I mean, some of them will turn into be an elite manager, world class manager, and they won't be replaced then in the next 5 years, if you see what I'm trying to say. It's not that, okay, now it's 5 years, they are 47, let's replace them and get a 36-year-old manager. So I don't buy that kind of a philosophy. Yes, for a change, for now, to integrate, adapt to the sporting directors philosophy, the philosophy of the new system framework, yes, it makes sense. But I believe football moving forward, the elite managers would always remain, would always have the work, would always be the first choice. So Garvan, this was the take. This was my take to perhaps wind this show. If there's anything, please feel free to give your thoughts on that, and then you can wind up the show.
Yeah, what you said, the as we keep on saying, is the revolution is changing, the cycle is changing. Wherever words we want to use to it, and it's gonna be very interesting to see who we really get. Does who we get gonna be the next big thing after Pep Guardiola decide he's going away after next season? Because that's what I thought they're saying, that he probably walk away next season. So you know, would that be a Cesc Fabregas or McKenna or Enzo or this Zerbi? Yeah, none of us know what it's gonna take, to reach that standard. So all we got to do right now, for me, in my point of view, is make sure we take our time out and think clearly of what we're gonna do to get a manager that got a good balance of both defense and offense. Someone who can get the best out of the players that we got. Because put it this way, if next season, which is going to be for another topic, another show, if next season we don't get the best out of Cole Palmer, and we don't finish in the top four or show progress, a Real Madrid, or Arsenal, or even Manchester City probably come back and knock on the door. And Cole Palmer is a player with ambition that really wanna achieve something in the game. So he's not gonna sit around at Chelsea for 5-6 years and wait for us to develop and ready to go. So I'm gonna close the show off with this. We have to get it right. This is the motto for now for all Chelsea fans, that we have to get it right. This is something that we have to think about. Not trying to split the fan base, but trying to accept each and everyone's opinion on this. And if they choose a manager, we all need to stick together and back the manager, because we have to get it right. We need these players to be comfortable where they can play their best football. We don't need no negativity in this moment. We have to get it right. And this is a statement that I'm going to say for now until we choose a manager. We have to back whoever manager come in. We have to stand by him. We have to back him. We have to hope for the best. Not because it's not going to be your choice, my choice, but we have to stick together and get this correct.
Very well put, Garvan. Very well put, and I completely agree. And Dante says 3+ hours, well done. Yes, I think, Garvan, the longest show we have done is like 5 hours?
Yeah, 5 hours.
We have to break that sometime soon, right? It's only 5 hours. Should be 6-7 hours, right? So yeah, I mean, I hope the audience enjoyed the show. Of course, Bobby was here before, Meyer, Dante, Final Boss, Coachella, Rich Money Makers. Garvan, now you have made me like a co-host, right, on your show. So I remember, and now I'm rehearsed. I'm rehearsed now, right? AB, right? Yeah. And if I miss someone, of course, please go ahead and mention. Yes, and yes, you can wind the show. Maybe next time I'll wind the show as well.
Well, I'm getting some merch. I don't know how they're gonna look yet. So when they deliver, I try them out. If they're good, I'm gonna have to mail you yours. I'm getting some shirt for the channel. Like some uniform where we can wear on the stream. I really appreciate you each and every day, more than and it's nice to have this kind of community that we're building together. Coach Dante and Tobago, and Bobby and Jerry and Jay-Z and JC. Sorry, I knew JC, and we all coming together and building a community that I really love and appreciate. So it's good, to have a platform that we can come on and voice our opinion, respectfully. So I thank Dante. Rich Moneymaker is here from day one, the notorious Stash, Gabriel A, and everyone. Andy is a Tottenham fan, always here with a Liverpool badge, and I really appreciate the community that we're building, and I thank each and every one, to be here supporting us for hours each and every time. Look forward for the emergency broadcast, because I know that Jersey probably not going to go to sleep. He's going to be peeping on his phone every 5 minutes. Get some sleep. I know that it's going to be a breaking news, but try to get some rest, and hopefully that they break the news when we're up. And thank you each and every one that's always here. And I'm leaving you guys with my son music. Thank you again, once again. I really appreciate it.
Coming from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. but it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays, all the niggas that be see-through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. Finding my own path like I'm writing my own sequel. Two-faced people all around, they be evil. 2021, you can never trust nobody. Good and bad thoughts on my mind, they be crowded. Push a nigga past his limits, then you see he bought it. If I really work hard, but I never catch them found it. Came a long way, in my dream now I be drowning. Niggas stay dying out here, got some hearts pounded. Multi-talented, my passion I haven't found it. Yeah, in my home, I was never ever doubted.